Big brother, are you still alive? Naruto and his sister Akumi are fraternal twins. They both have to find a way to cope with their childhood traumas. Let's just say maybe a psychopath isn't the best caretaker. Chapter 1, So did you pass? A girl with long crimson red hair asked, her arms crossed in front of her as her twin brother walked in the house, a goofy grin plastered across his face. Huh? Oh, you best believe it, I passed. I wasn't planning on staying behind for long, you know. He replied as he proudly displayed his forehead protector. Really? Because I want to know why Jonin level ninja were trying to break our door down looking for you at this time at night, she stated, annoyed at her brother. The boy instantly looked at her sheepishly. Did they? Hee, it's a long story, but I brought you dango and look chocolate, not only to celebrate but also, so you know, you don't get too mad at what happened, he stated, whispering the last part. The girl took in a deep breath. Let's eat the dango while you tell me what happened, Naruto ni. She sighed, her glare softening as she turned, walking toward the kitchen. The blonde-haired blue-eyes boy let out a sigh of relief. Ne-chan doesn't look too mad, but I'm so getting a lecture, he thought to himself as he followed close behind. Naruto was excited. Not only had he passed the genin exam and caught up to his sister, but he could finally do missions and prove to her that she didn't need to baby him anymore. Naruto, you idiot, move, you're in my seat. Sakura, a pretty pink-haired girl with beautiful emerald green eyes, snapped as she glared down at him. To be honest, Naruto had a massive crush on her, even if some bullied her because of her forehead. He thought she was gorgeous, well, appearance-wise. Other than her good looks and book smarts, she was mean and cold to him and didn't even flinch when it came to putting him down to get to her precious Sasuke-kun. Sakura roughly pushed past Naruto and sat down beside a black-haired boy who didn't even acknowledge her existence as she tried to get his attention. Naruto grumbled curses under his breath as he glared at Sasuke. What was so good about him that Sakura liked him? He honestly didn't know, but he did know that he was thankful Akumi, his twin sister, had graduated already, because otherwise he would be trying to prevent multiple murder attempts to the pretty pinky. Naruto rolled his eyes and got on the table. So what's so good about this Sasuke guy anyway? He hissed, glaring at Sasuke in annoyance. They both glared at each other before someone pushed Naruto, making him fall forward and lock lips with the black-haired asshole named Sasuke. Both of them pushed away and were spitting and coughing. My mouth is going to rot, Naruto cried out as he felt killing, or he slowly turned to see the Sasuke fangirls ready to kill him. Shit. Naruto POV. I sighed. They hadn't called out my sister's name. But I was on the same team as Sakura, so it wasn't as bad. I had hoped Gigi and listened to her request to be in my genin team when I graduated, but by the looks of it he hadn't. Before I forget, Team 7, you'll have another member on your team. I wasn't told specifics, but you'll be a 4-man squad. Dismiss. Iruka-sensei smiled and we all got up. I was about to ask Sakura-chan for lunch, but it would be better if I went to look for my sister and asked her if she was the other member of our team. I quickly hurried out of the academy as started toward the Hokage tower. I quickly recognized a red-headed person making their way through the crowds. Akumi ne, I yelled as I hurried toward her. Naruni. She looked up and smiled as she rushed toward me, quickly jumping onto me while giving me a bone-crushing hug. Guess who's also a member of Team 7? She smiled as she let me go. I knew it. We are finally going to be on the same team. I smiled as I hugged her and twirled her around, and she bursted out laughing. Put me down, I'm going to drop our bentos. She laughed as I set her down. Simon, let's go eat. She smiled and I nodded. We quickly headed to the academy and sat down on a bench. She handed me my bento, chopstick and drink. So how did you convince him? I asked Akumi. You mean convince that old bag of bones to let us be on the same team? Easy. I told him I would quit being a ninja, and if they didn't let me quit, then I would just hide away inside of you and never come out. She smiled as she clapped her hands together. Itadakimasu. Third POV. After the pair of twins finished their meal, they started heading back to the academy. Hey Naruni, I'm going to take a small nap. I was doing a mission earlier today and I'm beat. Akumi muttered and yawned. Naruto nodded as Akumi carefully stepped inside his body. It almost seemed as she vanished as she entered his body. The Kekkei Genkai the Uzumaki twins possessed was a rare one even amongst the Uzumaki, and only appeared in only a few sets of twins, and it allowed them to enter other people's body, and even if the other body got damaged they wouldn't be hurt. They could use living or dead people as vessels, which was good for infiltration missions. The Kekkei Genkai even hid their chakra signature, their scent and any trace of them. They could also leave the person completely conscious and unaware of their presence, or they could take control over them. It all depended on their skill to use the ability. Hours seemed to pass by before Kakashi, their sensei, made an entrance to see his pupils. A eraser hitting his head as he walked in. As of right now I hate you, meet me on the roof. He grumbled as he puffed away. Naruto glared at Sasuke as all three of them hurried upstairs. Took you long enough, now sit. Kakashi grumbled, putting his book away. All three of them listened. Now I want you to tell me a bit about yourself. He grumbled. What kind of things should we say, sensei? Sakura asked, cocking her head slightly. Name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, future dreams, things like that. Kakashi shrugged as he looked at them with a bored expression. How about you go first, Dadabayo? Naruto stated as he listened attentively. Akumi always did say first impressions were the most important, but with the eraser prank, he already knew he had a bad start. My name's Hatake Kakashi, I have many likes. There aren't many things I dislike. I like my hobbies and enjoy them and my dreams for the future. Never really thought about it, Kakashi stated with a shrug before looking at his pupils who looked annoyed at the vague introduction. Pinky, you first. Kakashi pointed at Sakura, who squeaked excitedly. Well, my name is Haruno Sakura. I like. Who I like, my hobbies are. My dreams for the future. She covered her face and squealed as she glanced at Sasuke. Naruto frowned, Kakashi's sweat dropped and Sasuke avoided eye contact. What about dislikes? Kakashi asked, hoping that at least she'd do something other than squeal. Ino Pig and Naruto Baka, of course. Sakura snapped, glaring at Naruto. Naruto quickly looked away. Internally he was hoping Akumi was asleep and didn't hear Sakura's comment, and was slightly tense, hoping she didn't forget she was inside his body and lash out. How about you, Sunshine? Kakashi asked, noticing how Naruto tensed and seemed to have quickly gotten on his guards. Right, I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen and homemade cooking. The color orange and instant ramen. Well, more like eating in general. I dislike bad guys and skipping meals. My hobbies are comparing different ramens, going to get a Kuriku ramen and being with Akune. My dream is to surpass all the Hokage and be the best Hokage in the leaf, and to show Akune that I'm strong. He smiled as he finished off his speech. Kakashi nodded slightly, understanding the hidden messages in what he meant in his sloppy presentation. Alright, your turn. Corner of desolation and sadness. Kakashi sighed and glanced at Sasuke, who rolled his eyes in annoyance. I'm Uchiha Sasuke. I don't like many things and I dislike almost everything. My hobbies are training and my dream. No, my ambition is to kill a certain someone. Sasuke spoke quick and to the point, his eyes narrowing and fist clenching as he spoke of his dream. Alrighty then, where's our fourth member? Kakashi asked, looking over at Naruto. Give me a moment, Naruto stated, shaking, trying to stir his sister up. Get up, Akumi. He yelled internally. I don't want to just make something up and pass it up as me. She grumbled, half asleep. Kakashi, can I just present her? She doesn't feel like it, Naruto stated, while Sasuke and Sakura looked at him like he lost his mind. Nope, this is a team meeting, she needs to be present, Kakashi stated, sighing and crossing his arms. Get up, you have to get out to present yourself. He tried again and received no response. Akumi. Get up. He yelled again. No, leave me alone and let me sleep. She snapped back. I'll kick you out. Naruto hissed. You wouldn't. To the others who couldn't hear the conversation, it was slightly weird how Naruto changed his facial expression as if he was talking to someone. But nevertheless they waited patiently. That's it, you lazy ass, you're out, Naruto snapped, looking annoyed as he did a series of hand signs. Expel no jutsu. Naruto called out the name as he held his hands out. Everything was still for a moment. I thought this guy was weird before, but he has an imaginary friend we have to consider a teammate. Just great, Sakura thought. Yup, he's insane. Sasuke thought to himself, cocking a brow. There was a loud shriek and out of Naruto's body someone was literally thrown out. The girl flew out, barely being able to catch herself as she tumbled forward, tripping over her feet and face planting with a loud crunch onto the metal bars that Kakashi was leaning against. The red-haired girl's body went limp and everyone stared quietly. Naruto was wide-eyed and looked horrified, slowly getting up ready to make a run for it. So that's what the Hokage meant by they are the only two that can push anyone with that same ability out of their body. Kakashi thought to himself as he saw the girl slowly get up, a dark aura surrounding her. Nah, Naruto, you asshole, how dare you expel me out of your body? She turned like a wild animal. Her nose was bent in an odd way and blood poured from her forehead, nose, and upper lip. She used the bars to propel herself forward and catching Naruto before he could run. Naruto struggled to get out of her iron grip. She was a few inches taller than Naruto and easily lifted him up with one hand. Cocking her fist back, getting ready to punch him. "Ne-chan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you out like that or for you to get hurt. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Naruto closed his eyes, trembling and cowering away from her glare, and looked as if he was afraid, very very afraid. Akumi clenched and unclenched her fist slightly, her face going from a harsh angry glare to an upset frown. She set him down and quickly pulled away, not making eye contact. "No, it's my fault. I should have never raised my voice at you nor threatened you. And I should have obeyed my superior." She looked away from Naruto, not daring to look at him, as she quickly started using medical ninjutsu on her broken nose. "My name is Uzumaki Akumi. I'm Naruto's twin sister. My likes are..." She paused for a moment then continued. Sweets, my dislikes are not knowing things, anyone who belittles my brother, anyone who speaks ill of my brother, anyone who threatens him, and if you don't want to piss me off, don't treat my brother bad and we will get along. My hobbies are training, learning and being able to help my brother in any way. My dream is to be able to help my brother achieve his dream and to reform many things here in the village, Akumi stated as she glared at her teammates while wiping the blood off her face. Sakura and Sasuke were wide-eyed. How did she suddenly pop out of Naruto's body like that? Where did you come from? Sakura voiced out, confused and startled. That's none of your damn business, bitch. You clearly stated you hated my brother, so don't expect me to be kind to you, or answer your questions. Akumi narrowed her eyes at Sakura. Mama, calm down Akumi, no need to be violent, be nice and kind. Naruto quickly stated, yanking Akumi back away from Sakura. Well, now that everyone knows each other and there hasn't been any casualties, I'll tell you about your test tomorrow. Kakashi interrupted before any more things were said amongst the genin. Test? What do you mean? I thought we already passed our test, Naruto stated, looking confused. Kakashi smirked and laughed. That was just to weed out the weak. In this test you have a 66% chance of failure. Meet me at the training ground 7 at 7 AM and don't eat breakfast or you'll puke, he stated before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Humph, so do you guys want to? Akumi began speaking when Sakura interrupted. Sasuke-kun, want to go eat dinner together and better our teamwork? She asked rather loudly. Sasuke glared at her annoyed and was about to respond. Hey, I was speaking, you rude boy. Naruto covered Akumi's mouth. Stop cussing, Ne-chan. He sighed and she rolled her eyes. DCH, as I was saying, wanna go have dinner as a team and discuss our training regimes? That way we know our strength and weakness for team formations. Akumi asked both Sasuke and Sakura. Hey, are you trying to get Sasuke-kun all for yourself? Sakura asked, crossing her arms. I'm not doing that. He's my brother's rival and my teammate, and I'm a kunyachi and have no time to chase boys, much less rookie genin. I was suggesting we all go and try to get along, that's it. Akumi replied, crossing her arms. Sakura opened her mouth but didn't have any response to Akumi's comment. So do you want to go or what? We can all go out to eat, but there's a chance other genin teams are out eating and they might overhear our team conversation. So we can go to mine and Naruni's apartment and I could make us something to eat. She shrugged. Sasuke thought about it for a moment. Her suggestion wasn't half bad because he knew what both Sakura and Naruto were capable of doing, but not her. Sure. He grumbled and Sakura nodded. I'll go as well. She added, wanting to spend time with Sasuke. Follow me, Naruto. I want you to bring extra food so I can cook, Akumi stated as she pulled out a small scroll and started writing. You know the drill, all right. Meet us at the apartment quickly, she stated, handing Naruto the scroll. Hi. He smiled as he ran off to the store. Akumi turned back to Sasuke and Sakura. Let's go, Akumi stated as they followed her out of the academy and she led them to her and Naruto's home. Akumi had led Sasuke and Sakura to the red light district. To say they were shocked was an understatement since it was their first time there. The red light district, there were a lot of ninja and civilian alike, and there was the strong stench of alcohol coming from the locals. Let's just say if you give a whole bunch of ninja booze and weapons, there are prone to be a few fights or brawls. There were even some clubs and gambling places already open with people loitering at the entrances. Ninjas who had finished missions, and some even has a few bloodstains on their jackets from previous fights, were drinking off the pain or chatting with their fellow comrades. Why are we here? Aren't like we supposed to stay away from here? It's dangerous, Sakura stated, walking closely to Sasuke since she was afraid. Well, we said we were going to mine and Naruto apartment, Akumi stated in an obviously tone. Hey you brat. You stole my money. An angry ninja came stumbling out of a bar, recognizing Akumi as she ignored. Akumi, that man is walking toward us, Sasuke whispered in a hushed tone as he glanced back at the stumbling ninja. Some even stopped and watched, knowing whatever was going to happen was going to be entertaining. Hey Akuma. The man yelled, calling her a demon, and grabbed her shoulder roughly, but before he could say anything she roundhouse kicked him on the jaw, instantly knocking him out. Nice try, asshole, she stated, crouching down and grabbing his wallet, pulling out a wad of cash, counting it and pulling out a few bills, returning them to the wallet before shoving the rest in her pocket. And the name's Akumi, not Akuma, you dumbass, she stated, glancing back at her teammates. Let's go before he wakes up, she stated, hurrying and picking up her pace. Akumi, you can't just do that, you stole that man's money, Sakura stated, catching up to the red-haired girl. Yeah, and he tried to attack me, so it's a fair deal, Akumi stated, shrugging. Besides, he is a borderline alcoholic. His name is Chikor, and if someone doesn't steal his money, he'll just end up wasting it all on booze. Akumi shrugged as she stopped in front of an apartment complex. It was very worn down and almost in the center of the red light district. But it's wrong, Sakura stated, and Akumi looked at her unamused. You worry about it too much. she stated as she led them into the complex up to her and Naruto's apartment. Sasuke had been very quiet, but he was just shocked seeing what Akumi had done and now bring in their apartment. The apartment was neat and tidy. The walls were a creamy color and there were bookshelves full of scrolls and a small coffee table in the center of the living room. I thought it'd be messier, Sasuke grumbled as he looked around seeing the TV and the entrance to the kitchen. You can take your shoes off here, she stated, pointing to where she had just placed her shoes. Would you like something to drink? Akumi asked politely and Sakura shook her head. Just water, Sasuke stated as Akumi walked into the kitchen. Here. She came out with a glass of water. So why don't we start with our training regimes? Akumi stated as she grabbed a notebook and opened it up to a blank page. Why don't you start off? Sasuke stated and Sakura nodded. Well, in the mornings I jog 12 times around the villages for endurance and then I do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups for about 2 hours. I then practice my shuriken and kenjutsu for about 3 hours. I then do some light studying for my medical ninjutsu and help Naruto with his studying even if he's really bad at it. I also spar with Naruto and we mostly always work out together and he's always trying to keep up, she stated, writing it all down. So you spend about 7 to 9 hours training on the daily? Sasuke states and Akumi nods. Sakura, what about you? Akumi asked, looking at Sakura. Well, at the academy I used to train and then I studied after school, she said, embarrassed that she didn't have some long schedule she followed. What about you, Sasuke? She asked. Obviously I do the training the academy, then after school I spend about 2 hours on kunai and shuriken and 2 on my taijutsu and ninjutsu, he says as the front door opened up. Akumi, you missed it, there was a brawl at the Jimukuro bar and Bus had to step in to stop it, Naruto yelled, a bright red mark on his cheek. Akumi instantly stood up. What happened to your face? She gasped, hurrying to see Naruto as he set the grocery bags down. A chair was thrown and one of the legs flew off and hit me in the face, he said, touching his sore cheek. TCH, let me heal it. She grumbled, placing her hand on it, letting a soft green glow heal his face. Oh, and I brought the food, he stated, and she nodded. Y'all write down your training schedule while I make something in the kitchen, she stated, picking up the bags. Let me help, Sakura stated, standing up. Not only would she get out of writing down her training schedule, which dull in comparison to Sasuke and Akumi's, but she'd show Sasuke her cooking skills. Akumi narrowed her eyes at Sakura for a moment before nodding and leading her into the kitchen. You took long enough, Dobby, Sasuke stated. Did you even try to dodge it? He asked, and Naruto frowned. I got caught up in it and there was too many people to move around, Naruto retorted as he plopped down across from Sasuke. Ne-chan, bring me something to drink, Naruto called out. Akumi quickly brought him a glass of lemonade and set a plate of dango on the table. You can get some too, Sasuke, she stated as she turned and left back into the kitchen. Naruto happily dug in. Want some? He asked, and Sasuke shook his head. I don't like sweets, he stated, and Naruto shrugged as he ate. It wasn't long before both girls brought the freshly cooked rice and food to the small table. Akumi set out the plates. Okay, so let's talk about our abilities, she stated, sitting next to Naruto and serving him a plate full of food. What things can you do, Sasuke-kun? Sakura instantly turned to Sasuke. Akumi set a plate in front of him and he began to speak. My strongest affinity that I know of is fire, like my clan's. I can do my clan's signature fireball jutsu, and my weapons of choice are shuriken and kunais. Taijutsu and ninjutsu are my strongest skills. I have yet to unlock my Kekkei Genkai. He spoke calmly as he picked up his chopsticks and said thanks for the food. Wow, Sasuke-kun, you're amazing. Sakura smiled as she squealed over him. What about you, Akumi? Sasuke spoke quickly, wanting to know about the unknown teammate. Me and Naruto specialize in our clan's Kekkei Genkais. She started off, and the other two Jonin froze, glancing at Naruto and back at her. Naruto, you have a Kekkei Genkai? Sakura asked, confused, and he nodded, his mouth full of rice. Yay, but my sister is much better at using it than I am. Since our clan is practically all gone and it's a rare ability only a few selected sets of twins can unlock, we basically wing it and have to study very old documents for clues on how to wield it. He added. What's the name of it? Sasuke asked, feeling irritated that someone else in the team had a special ability. We have two heavenly chakra chains and the Akuma Uzumaki possession, Akumi stated. Red demon Uzumaki possession, what does it do? Sakura asked, slightly shivering at the name. We can enter people's bodies, be it dead or alive, and control them. They can be conscious or unconscious, or we can simply hid in the bodies. We can also make them do whatever we want, from simple commands to murder or suicide, and our own bodies aren't harmed. And nobody can push us out of the bodies except someone with the same ability. In that case only Naruto can push me out and only I can push him out. Akumi stated, "It's good for infiltration and assassination missions because once inside a body we can access memories or just not do anything and let the person stay in control and conscious. But getting out of the body takes a toll and I'm not good at it and usually get stuck inside, but I'm getting better at it." Naruto smiled. "What about heavenly chakra chains?" Sasuke asked, curious of the other ability. "Those are just chakra chains we can use to hold down something or someone before we seal them or whatever we are going to do. It's best paired up with Fuinjutsu, which is something I study." Naruto smiled proudly. "I'm not really good at ninjutsu or genjutsu, but I'm really good at Fuinjutsu, and well, I struggle with taijutsu too, but Fuinjutsu is my strong point, believe it." Naruto gave them a sloppy smile. "So you study seals?" Sakura deadpanned, since it wasn't something that was commonly used or that she knew much about. "Anyway, I excel at both those Kekkei Genkai. I'm good at Gen, Nin, and Taijutsu and can use a large variety of weapons. My affinity is earth and well, I have good chakra control. I'm also good at medical ninjutsu," she shrugged. "What about you, Sakura-chan?" Naruto asked, and Sakura sweat dropped. I'm good at genjutsu. I don't know my affinity, and I'm not from a prestigious shinobi clan. My parents aren't exactly elite ninjas and I don't have some special clan jutsu from them. But I'm good at memorization and at the academy jutsus we were taught," she stated, embarrassed. Even the dead last Naruto specialized in something and had a Kekkei Genkai. For a moment Sakura felt out of place. They were elite Genin for their abilities, but she felt that beside the head clan students that graduated in their class she simply paled in comparison because of her lack of jutsus and abilities. It's okay, Sakura-chan, I bet our sensei will teach us all kinds of cool things." Naruto smiled kindly, and for a moment Sakura couldn't help but feel better for her lack of specialized skills. "If you don't have special skills and have good memorization, you should stick to learning geography and setting traps and long or mid-distance attacks. I can safely assume the rest of us are close-range fighters because of our Kekkei Genkais and skill sets, so we will need someone to stand in the rear and direct our attacks and cover for us during battles," Akumi stated, and Sakura's eyes widened. She couldn't help but smile softly. She could be of use to the team even with her small amount of skill sets. "But Nei-chan, you're a long and close-distance fighter. Chakra chains allow you to attack from afar and Akuma Uzumaki possession give you close combat abilities," Naruto stated, making Sakura frown at the comment. "With my temper I already know staying in the rear for me is nearly impossible, hence why I'm not a medical nin. I've already failed the first principles of medical ninjas, so I consider myself a close-range fighters," she stated, and Sasuke and Sakura sweat dropped. "What principles did you fail?" Sakura asked so she would know why not to let Akumi treat any of her wounds. "Medical ninja should never engage in battle. Medical ninja must avoid all injury. Medical ninja must heal their comrades until they die and must be the last one left and must never let themselves be killed before their teammates. I'm not the kind to sit back in a fight, so I don't consider myself a medical ninja even with my medical ninjutsu ability," she stated, and Sasuke and Sakura sighed in relief. They thought she had meant she wasn't a medic because she was bad at healing or something. They were all finishing their meals when Naruto looked at the time. It was nearly nighttime. "You guys should hurry and head home. It's not safe at nighttime in this part of the village," he stated as he set his chopsticks down as he finished eating. Sakura looked over and her eyes widened. "It's almost past my curfew as well," she stated, standing up. "Thank you for the meal and I'll see you tomorrow," she stated, hurrying to get her things and put her shoes on. "I guess you're right, it isn't safe at nighttime here in the red light district. It's also best if me and Sakura leave in pairs just in case." Sasuke grumbled as he got up. Sakura's eyes widened when she realized Sasuke was going to walk with her. "I suggest you stay on the rooftops, you'll run into less trouble there," Akumi stated, standing up so she can see them out. "I'll clean up the table," Naruto stated, getting up and picking up the plates before Akumi could throw a fit. "See you two tomorrow at the training grounds." Sakura smiled and Akumi waved. "See you there then." Akumi smiled as they left. "We should go to sleep," Akumi sighed and Naruto nodded. Characters: Akumi Uzumaki. She's a bit shy with strangers, strong, smart and has a quick temper. She gets mad at small things, especially when someone is bothering or mistreating Naruto due to a few childhood traumas. Yes, it's a Naruto neglect kind of childhood. She protects Naruto and kind of spoils him. She does get angry at Naruto but can never brings herself to hit him and feels guilty anytime she raises her voice at him. She's a prodigy and wishes to right all the wrongs she's done. Naruto Uzumaki. Hyperactive, happy and clumsy. He isn't the ideal ninja and due to reasons he isn't as strong as he could have been. He missed a lot of his own childhood for certain reasons and cares deeply for his sister and is determined to keep her out of trouble, aka random fights she gets into for her temper. His biggest wish other than being Hokage is to protect his sister for a change and let her know he doesn't hate her for certain events of their childhood. They both were raised in the Greenleaf Orphanage as children. Sasuke Uchiha. He's a lot like canon Sasuke and isn't as emotionless. He's still an asshole and narcissist with a superiority complex but with a fear of being inferior. Sakura Haruno. Sometimes an airhead that follows and does what Sasuke tells her to do but realizes that she isn't the strongest and shouldn't treat others bad because of prodigious things she was taught. She sometimes doesn't think before she speaks, aka no filter, which will earn her a black eye at some point. Sakura realizes she needs to step up to be a strong member of Team 7. Akumi shot up, her eyes quickly scanning the room and reaching over to the kunai in the nightstand. Her eyes slowly wandered to the small clock that sat on the nightstand. It was 2:37 a.m. and then they wandered to the empty space on the bed. She took deep steady breaths. Her mind was racing as she slowly got up, making sure not to make any noise as she moved to the door, holding her kunai carefully and ready to attack. She noticed that the hallway light was on and she lightly licked her lips as she slowly opened the door and looked down the hall. She stepped carefully. Had someone snuck in the house? Also, where did Naruto go? Her main concern was her brother's safety as she turned the hall, looking out into the living room. "Ne-chan, did I wake you up?" She jumped and turned quickly, hiding the kunai behind her. "Oh, it was just you, Naruni. I was just checking to see why you weren't in bed," she stuttered, giving him a smile but visibly relaxing. Naruto cocked his head and frowned. He held a cup of water and seemed to just come out of the restroom. Before she could react, he grasped her arm, yanking it forward and pried the kunai out of her hands. "You didn't see me and got scared," he stated, frowning as he saw her smile falter and look down in shame. "No, it's just that I worry, you know. What if something bad happens if I'm not there?" She mumbled, knowing it was really nothing but simple paranoia. "Do you want to talk about it?" he asked, but she shook her head, knowing that he meant that he wanted her to voice her thoughts. "She's gone. She was executed on the Civilian and Shinobi Council's orders. She isn't going to come back and hurt us anymore." He spoke calmly and reaffirming the facts. "Yeah, I know, but when I don't hear you and know you're okay, She trailed off, looking away, not making eye contact with him. "Yeah, I know, I understand. You feel like we are back in those times," he mumbled, pulling her into a hug. "We should sleep, we have our genin test tomorrow." Naruto gave her a soft smile and a kiss on her forehead. She softly nodded and they both went back to bed, cuddling and falling asleep as if nothing had happened. Both Uzumaki were in a hurry, getting everything they needed for their test. "Naruni, get the soldier pills from the cabinet," Akumi yelled out as she double-checked their supplies. They were having a survival test, so she had to make sure they were prepared. Hi, Naruto yelled, quickly bringing it to her. "Did you brush your teeth, use the restroom and comb your hair?" she asked, and he quickly nodded. "Okay, so we are ready to go, so let's hurry or we will be late." She quickly placed the solitaire pills in her bag and zipped them up before they hurried out. Both of the twins dashed on the rooftops and were hurrying to the training ground that they were meeting up in. "Good morning." Naruto smiled widely as they arrived at the training grounds 3 minutes before the set time. "We were wondering where you were?" Sakura grumbled, looking slightly annoyed about something as she pulled random grass where she was sitting at. "I was double-checking that we had everything for the test," Akumi stated as she began taking her backpack off. "Here, Naruto, take a solitaire pill. We didn't have breakfast and you'll need the energy." Akumi placed a pill in Naruto's hand before grabbing one for herself and popping it into her mouth. "Do you guys want one? If you didn't have breakfast you'll need to get energy from somewhere," Akumi stated, crossing her arms out of habit. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, looked down at the pill before holding out his hand for her to give him one. Akumi rolled her eyes and roughly placed one in his hand before glancing at Sakura, wondering her response. Sakura watched as Sasuke quickly ate the solitaire pill. "I guess I'll get one too," she mumbled as Akumi handed her one as well. They all lay down and waited for a few minutes. "Well, he isn't here." Akumi stood up, stretching. "Yeah, we can tell, you don't have to state the obvious." Sakura rolled her eyes. Akumi's eye twitched slightly. "This is a survival test. If out on a mission and there's a set time to meet up with a comrade and they don't show up, what do you do?" Akumi asked them, wanting to know their response. The genin looked at her confused. "We wait till they show up?" Sakura said, unsure this wasn't something that they learned about in the academy. Akumi glanced at both Sasuke and Naruto and waited for their answer. "I don't know," Naruto stated, shrugging, and she then looked at Sasuke, waiting for his answer. "We don't know the objective of the so-called mission, so how should we know what to do?" he stated, crossing his arms. "You guys are useless, you know that?" Akumi rolled her eyes. "First we would assume they are dead, a set time to meet up is set. Wait there any longer, you risk being confronted by enemy ninja or unknown surprises." She started off. She didn't know the kind of test Kakashi-sensei was planning, but she had already passed one when she was a fresh out the academy genin. Her first sensei was named Yori, and he had made them survive off the wilderness for 3 days with whatever they had brought with them to his test. It ended with them working together to avoid set traps, random attacks, and keep themselves fed. So this time around she was going to make sure they passed smoothly. Second, we would have to make ourselves aware of our surroundings. Sensei could have set traps all around us earlier. We can find the necessities to survive if something were to happen to our supplied. Sensei said to be here at 7 AM. For all we know he is already watching us from afar, and it's not like any of us are skilled sensors to find him, and I doubt that we would be able to find him considering he's an elite jonin, Akumi stated, and the other three were staring at her wide-eyed in realization that she was right. So what should we do? Sakura asked as she stood up. If we were a group of 3 we would all stick together, but we have the benefit of the numbers, so we will split into 2 teams. One will stay close to the site and look for any clues or to see if sensei shows up. The other group will scout the area and search for food, shelter and escape routes. Akumi stated. That makes sense, but how will we tell each other when sensei is found? Sasuke asked, stating the obvious. Do you have any flashy jutsu? Akumi asked. I have paper bombs. Sakura spoke up, shrugging. I have my fire-style fireball jutsu. Sasuke stated. We have heavenly chakra chains. Naruto pipped in, smiling and nodding. Okay, so those are the I found Kakashi signs. He could also clone and henge himself to look like us to throw us off or to test our abilities to see through a henge. So we will have a code word. Akumi stated. A code word for each pair, and something that isn't too weird and odd so he doesn't know it is the code word or the possible answer. Sakura stated, trying to think of a code word. First let's split off into groups. Naruto and Sakura. Then it's me and Sasuke, Akumi stated, and Sakura frowned. Why me and Naruto? And how come you get Sasuke? She pouted while Naruto grinned happily. Me and Sasuke will be the fighters, you and Naruto the backup. You'll stay closer to the meeting site, and if there is any battle Naruto can come up with a seal to help us out. Naruto isn't as strong and has low endurance due to reasons, so he can enter your body and together place seals so that if anything happens Sasuke and I have the upper hand. She reasoned, and Naruto frowned. I'm not as weak anymore, Akune. I could place the seal all by myself, you know. He grumbled, and Akumi was already trying to take him out of battle. Akumi frowned. I understand that you've become stronger than before and have overcome many things, Naruni, but this is an elite jonin. I would only barely be able to keep up, and that's if he takes it easy on us. She states seriously. She didn't like making Naruto feel like she was undermining his ability, but she wasn't going to set him up to do the impossible. She knew his limits and that this was the best for the team. The code word? Sasuke asked, bringing them back on topic. Get close just in case someone is nearby. Akumi grumbled, looking around. Sakura and Naruto's his Fuinjutsu. Sasuke and I will say taijutsu, Akumi whispered softly so that only they could hear before pulling away. The 3 of them nodded. It doesn't matter who says it first, the answer is always the same. She added. Alright, so we will split up. Remember everything now. Don't get too far from this area, Sasuke stated as both pairs split up. Kakashi watched from afar, a small smile playing on his lips. It seemed that the one experienced Shinon was pulling the whole team together, not only with reasonable logic but battle experience. He had read her file, a prodigy just like him and the infamous Itachi Uchiha. Only reason the girl wasn't a chunin already was because each time she was offered a promotion she declined, and that she had a few little screws loose from childhood experiences. As a matter of fact, the entire team was a nutcase of traumatized children, or in their sensei's case childhood, all except the pink-haired Kun Yoshi. How the Hokage and ninja mentor Iruka came up with the team was beyond him. Sure, their abilities and potential were great, and if tuned right way they would be one hell of a force to be reckoned with, but their personalities clashed way too much and it was a lot of psychological problems to deal with. Maybe this was the Hokage trying to show him what he looked and acted like as a child, or that they would walk hand in hand to a therapist for group therapy, but Kakashi had a feeling this group might end up passing his test. Kakashi weaved through the forest, purposely making a few sounds so that the 2 genin could hear. Did you hear that? Akumi asked, pulling out a kunai. Sasuke tensed up. He had gone along with the plan because it made sense, but now he realized the girl had a point in the deductions she made. Well, aren't my cute little genin a little far off from the meeting site? Kakashi asked, standing behind them. Akumi reacted quick, her kunai whizzing by Kakashi's head as he tilted his head slightly. We didn't know when you would show up, so we decided to scout the area. She was still on her guard. Her hand on her kunai hoisted as she turned her body towards him. I was impressed to see you Ford take action in the absence of your sensei. Good tactics. Just next time discuss the plans more quietly. It would be no use if enemies heard it. Also tell your teammates. 3 bells. Get one, you pass the test, don't get one, you fail and you go back to the academy. All weapons and jutsu allowed. You have till 12 o'clock, so come at me with killing intent and all you got. Kakashi was speaking when Sasuke did his fire-style fireball jutsu up in the sky. Naruto, look. Sakura pointed up at the flames that rose up. They found Sensei, let's go. Naruto quickly started running towards the place, Sakura following close in pursuit. Then we will take them from you, Akumi stated, getting ready to fight, and Sasuke got his kunai out. We can definitely beat him. Sasuke smirked. Akumi didn't even bother asking Sasuke as she entered his body. He was taken back when he heard her speak. You attack, I'll be your support, now go, she hissed, and he quickly attacked. By the time Naruto and Sakura arrived, they saw Sasuke engaging battle. Where's Akumi? Sakura asked, wondering where Sasuke's backup was. She's fighting. She's inside of Sasuke. If he can get a grip on Sensei, she can get complete control on his body, and Sensei seems to know that, so he doesn't maintain contact very long, Naruto stated, knowing his sister's fighting style. Sakura was about to retort when she saw a third leg try and kick Kakashi's midsection. It made sense, if inside she could attack from any angle to surprise attack. TCH, they must know what the mission is. Naruto grumbled to himself and perked up. Akumi nay, he yelled, and Sasuke smirked. 3 bells, retrieve 1 to pass, if you don't get 1 fail, time limit 12 o'clock, use any means to get them, Sasuke yelled as Akumi threw herself out of him and began throwing consecutive attacks. Sasuke was slightly starstruck on the sensation of her leaving his body so quickly and the odd feeling of when he lost all sense of control. Akumi's attacks quickened as she attacked, her fingers grazing the bells that were attached to his waist. The other 3 members began surrounding Kakashi. Naruto had given them little slips of paper with a small complex seal drawn on it. Kakashi grasped Akumi's wrist. One thing the silver-haired man knew was that she wouldn't dare hurt her brother, so he'd use that against her. Swiftly he tossed her behind him where Naruto had been trying to sneak up from. Naruto. Akumi squealed as she was about to crash into him, but he reacted quickly, grabbing her hand, giving her the seal as he simultaneously threw her back at their teacher. He spun on his heel, turned quickly as he threw her right back. It happened in an instant, barely grazing their sensei's arm but sticking. You could even call it a streak of luck. Sasuke and Sakura acted quickly, seeing their sensei suddenly halt in mid-motion. They both snatched the bells and held them up proudly. Seems like we got the upper hand, sensei. Sakura smirked. What are you doing? He never said he couldn't take them back. Run, run. Akumi screamed, and their faces paled in realization. The seal broke and they started making a run for it. Kakashi quickly snatched the bells back and secured them onto him. You spoke too soon. He smirked, shaking his head. That's when there was a loud ringing. Would you look at that? You've run out of time, he said, giving them a closed-eye smile. All 4 genin looked down and sighed. Well, at least they had tried. So what's your conclusion of what happened? Kakashi asked. In his point of view, he'd seen the teamwork. They hadn't tried to get the bells for themselves, but maybe that was because they didn't have enough time to think about being selfish and everything was at the spur of the moment. Don't celebrate too early. Naruto grumbled, pouting. He couldn't help but groan at the thought of returning to the academy. Secure your victory and always be prepared, Sakura stated, looking down sadly. Finish mission and don't rub it in. Sasuke barely mumbled the phrase out. Akumi stayed quiet. She had a small understanding and idea of what the objective was. Let me rephrase that. What would have happened if you had attacked alone? Kakashi asked as he threw the bells at Akumi, who caught them. The genin looked at each other for a moment, each thinking about the question Kakashi had asked. Akumi gave her teammates the bells and they took them, taking notice she didn't have one. If we hadn't worked together, we wouldn't have stood a chance. It was a lucky shot that we got you with the seal. Sakura spoke up and the others nodded. You're right, you worked together and managed to get the reward. Now remember, those that don't get a bell fail my exam, Kakashi stated, watching carefully. Sasuke looked down at the bell and held it out to Akumi. You deserve it. You came up with the plans, and if it hadn't been for you we would have sat there and did nothing. He grumbled, not making eye contact as he placed the bell in her hand. No, it's fine, you don't have to. Akumi was about to decline when Sakura spoke up. No, take mine, Sasuke, and you're stronger than me and will be needed more in the team. Maybe next year when I really train hard we can be on the same team. She gave Sasuke his bell back and gave hers to Akumi. Guys, you don't really have to, she was once again interrupted. Naruto, aren't you going to offer your bell? Kakashi asked, and Naruto snickered. Like hell. I've worked hard and earned my right as a genin. This test is for academy to genin, right? Well, it would be pointless to give my bell up then. Besides, you can fail Akumi even if you tried. She's been a genin for years and Gigi has been trying to promote her to chunin, but she doesn't feel she's ready, although she already took the chunin exams once and quit because she decided not to be a chunin. Naruto deadpanned. Sakura and Sasuke anime fell while Kakashi's sweat dropped. Besides, that would mean Sasuke and Sakura keep their bell and we all pass. We all worked hard to get them the first time around. Naruto shrugged. He has a point, sensei, only the Hokage can demote me now. She smiled, handing Sakura her bell back. Guess you three aren't as easy to trick. But there was a lesson in all this training. Kakashi smiled at his soon-to-be squad. Together you four were able to overcome a skill set gap. Alone you wouldn't have made it and failed almost immediately, but together you were able to find an opening. As Konoha Ninja you must know we pride ourselves in team-centered missions, and due to that we have a high success rate. You four need to work together and will soon get stronger together. You are teammates and must put the mission and comrades before your own ego. Because those who abandon their mission are scum, but those who abandon their comrades and friends are worse than scum. Kakashi smiled, and they did as well. Meet me here at 5 AM for training tomorrow. I'll be drilling team formations into you. He smiled and began walking away. We passed, Sasuke said wide-eyed and turned to the other three who were smiling brightly before they began cheering. Both Sasuke and Sakura sweat dropped. I got it, okay, I don't need help. Naruto grumbled, annoyed at Akumi's antics. Are you sure? If you get tired you can lay down and rest, I'll do your part and mine. She spoke up once more, clearly not noting Naruto's annoyance. It's not that heavy, it's just a bunch of trash from the river and I got it covered, Akune. You promised you wouldn't baby me anymore. He retorted, crossing his arms, and she opened her mouth to say something back but shut it, knowing that she had indeed promised she'd stop trying to do everything for him. Fine, but if you feel lightheaded or a bit fatigued just know I packed snacks for you if your blood sugar gets low or to help restore your reserves. She babbled on as she picked up more trash and placed it in her trash bag. Akumi let Naruto pull his own weight. Kakashi spoke up from the tree branch he was sitting on. Even sensei agrees you're being too extra. Naruto grunted as he picked up trash from the river bank. Akumi huffed and grumbled a few curses under her breath as she began working once again. I was just worried, okay? No need to jump down my throat about it. Akumi snapped at her sensei and quietly went back to work. Akumi, we get you worried, but Naruto is a ninja and we haven't been doing tough missions so he can handle it. Sakura tried to reason, but the intensity of Akumi's glare shut her up. Naruto sighed. He sped up trying to finish this mission faster. Man, that mission barely took long. Sakura sighed as the team was once again heading to the Hokage Tower. The team had been training for a few months now. Kakashi was working them to the bone to drill in team formations. They had come to a realization that instead of laying around waiting for their sensei to arrive in the mornings, it was a wonderful time to start stretching and conditioning their bodies for the day's exercise. I wish Gigi could give us harder missions, these stupid chores are boring. Naruto grunted as they opened the office door. Old man, give us a better mission. Dadabayo, Naruto shouted excitedly, and the rest of the team sweat dropped at his antics. Naruto. I was wondering when your team finished the last mission. The old man stated, taking a few puffs of his pipe. I'm tired of these boring chores. Give us a mission. Naruto went on, slamming his arms on the desk as he looked up excitedly. Naruto, your team is mostly made up of freshly graduated genin. Even with the elite jonin and seasoned genin, you three need more experience to request. Are you even listening? Iruka snapped as Naruto grumbled to his sister about whether they should eat takeout or a home-cooked meal for dinner. Yeah. But we already finished our required amount of D ranks, so we deserve a higher rank mission. Naruto crossed his arms. Besides, you and Akumi don't let me prove myself and still treat me like on the verge of death and weak, so I want to show you I've gotten stronger and that I am a ninja. He finished off, crossing his arms. The Hokage sighed, looking at Naruto for a split second and nodding. Bring in the client for the Escort C-ranked mission. He spoke solemnly as the Anbu escorted someone in. Ooh, who are we escorting? Naruto smiled widely and Akumi frowned. Are you sure we are ready? Akumi asked, stepping up. Sakura and Sasuke looked content with Naruto results on getting them a better mission and frowned when Akumi spoke up. I do. Now you'll be escorting him. You'll protect him from bandits and thugs. The Hokage stated as he pointed at the man that walked in sporting a sake bottle. TCH, I asked for ninja, not some brats. And you expect that tiny kid to be a ninja? Dazuna looked down at Naruto, who frowned at the comment. Tiny? Who? You bastard. Naruto quickly realized he was the smallest one of the group. Naruto wasn't one to lash out quickly, that was usually Akumi, but he hated being called small or short. It was something he loathed. Ma Naruto, you can't kill the client. Kakashi held back the angry blonde, who seemed to have his mind set on showing the bridge builder that the ninja title wasn't just for show. Anyway, I'm Kazuna and I expect you to protect me with your lives, he stated and took a gulp of sake. Meet at the front eastern gate in 30 minutes. Pack necessities only. Kakashi turned to his small group and stated before disappearing in a puff of smoke. See you in 30 minutes. Akumi stated, grabbing Naruto and forcing him inside her before disappearing in a puff of smoke as well. Team 7 had all arrived at the eastern gate. For once their chronic late sensei arriving on time as he held a small orange book casually reading. "Everyone ready to go?" he asked and was rewarded with a chorus of yes with one grunt included. Naruto POV. I couldn't help but feel giddy inside. I took my first steps out before grinning widely. This is my first time out of the village. I'm a traveler now, believe it. I cheered happily as Akumi stepped beside me and gave me a warm smile. "You sure I can trust these brats?" Tazana's sweat dropped. "I'm a elite jonin and Akumi here is one of the village's prodigy genin, and my team aren't a bunch of pushovers, so don't worry, you'll be safe," Kakashi-sensei stated as we started walking at civilian pace. Sakura started asking about Tazana's home and I listened carefully. "Hey, wanna work on your chakra sensing?" Akumi asked as she walked up beside me. "Oh yeah, you promised you'd start showing me." I smiled as I remembered our promise. She gave a curt nod and held up her hand, pushing a strand of her hair back. "Okay, so let's pick up where we left off last time. Remember how I taught you to move your chakra around inside your body? This time you must try to push your chakra around you and out. Be very careful and try not to put out too much or you'll be telling the other ninja your location." She began explaining. I quickly nodded and I noticed Akumi wins. "Is that too much chakra?" I asked sheepishly and she meekly nodded. "Take deep breaths. I know you have large reserves but you have to be careful since you don't have very good chakra control," she stated and I nodded as I tried to lessen the amount of chakra I used. I tried to sense Sensei's chakra but his was well hidden, unlike Sasuke and Sakura's. I was also sensing Akumi's chakra when she suddenly tensed and hid it. "What's going on?" I asked, glancing at her as she slowly reached for her weapon, her eyes slightly trained on the puddle we had just passed. Enemy nin. Before she could finish whispering, Kakashi-sensei was wrapped in metal chains and ripped apart. I couldn't help but gawk at the scene before me. Damn, team up Blackpink and siblings. Naruto twin attack. Akumi instantly reacted, giving out orders. It took me a second to register what was going on, but I quickly grabbed Akumi's hand, pulling her inside me, helping her dodge a chain. Sasuke and Sakura had teamed up, Sasuke blocking the chain that Akumi dodged. He had managed to pin it down with a kunai while Sakura made sure to back him up. I turned my attention to the ninja trying to attack us. I sidestepped and twisted my body to his side before pushing Akumi out, hurling her towards him, allowing her the chance to roundhouse kick him and grab him. The second she held onto him, she went for an instant assassination. Akumi pulled herself into his body and used her kunai to slit his throat to finish off the job. She pulled herself out of his back so that she was towering over him, then lodged the kunai in the back of his skull. Blood splattered on her face as she pulled back, landing effortlessly behind the dying Chunin. Naru, let's back up the other two. She started off when Kakashi appeared, knocking out the other brother who had started charging toward Akumi. His face was a bright shade of red and had let out a shriek of anger. "You bitch, I'll..." But he never finished his sentence. Interesting, it seems they were after the client. "Do you have anything to say?" Kakashi narrowed his eye at the bridge builder. The bridge builder looked nervous. Please, I'll die without your protection. I have a cute little grandson at home waiting for me and my daughter. You have to help me." He began trying to convince us, and it was working for me at least. I couldn't just let him go without helping. If he died, I'd feel guilty. Well, this has gone from a C rank to at least a B ranked. I think it's up to you four if we continue. Kakashi-sensei spoke up. "We can't do it, we are fresh out of the academy." Jinan and Sakura stuttered out. "I think we can do it. We worked really hard and we can't just leave him to die. Besides, look at how well our teamwork is." I began. Sakura and Sasuke glanced at each other, smiling proudly. "Well, I agree to disagree." Akumi walked up, blood slightly splattered across her face and clothes and her hands coated with the same red liquid. "I signed up for an escort that was at Jinan level. What we should be doing is tying these two up and taking them back to the village. The demon brother for being a Rougenin and Tazana for not disclosing all information and putting us at risk. Do you guys know how many classmates of mine have died in these kinds of missions? They went out for a D ranked, ended up with a B or A ranked, and they were murdered." Akumi snapped, glaring at Tazana. "We might be ninja, but none of them have had their first kill, hence why they aren't ready for this kind of ranked mission." Akumi snapped as she began wiping her hands with a cloth. "Akumi, give us a chance. Besides, I know we are fully capable of taking this mission. We can adapt and move forward. Besides, we have to take a few risks sometimes, otherwise we will never move forward. This is just our next step to becoming a ninja. Besides, I want to help and I gave my word that we would escort Tazana back to the wave and I won't go back on it," Naruto retorted. Akumi frowned as she wiped her kunai. "Fine, I guess I can't hold you guys back. But if it comes down to it, remember, it's kill or be killed. Don't hesitate to slit someone's throat," Akumi stated as she walked forward, not glancing back. She was upset and I knew it. "Well, I guess that's a yes, we will continue the mission." Kakashi-sensei sighed at Akumi's reaction and turned to the tied-up demon brother. I'll let the village know to pick him up," he added. Sakura and Sasuke quickly followed in Akumi's pursuit, and so did I. "Stupid bridge builder." Akumi grumbled, angrily glaring at the poor man. "Mama, Akumi, nay, you're scaring the old fart." I sweat dropped. "We are taking unnecessary risks." I should have said no, but you seemed so determined. She grumbled, looking away from me. "Well, I'm happy you said yes. Although I had expected you drag us all back to the leaf, so it was a nice surprise." I smiled at her, patting her shoulder. I sighed as she walked in front of me. Her arms were crossed and I knew she was in high alert. "Naruto, your sister is amazing. She killed that Rouge with no hesitation," Sakura whispered as she walked up beside me. Sasuke was at my other side, listening carefully. "Well, she's been a genin for a while. She had her first kill when we were pretty young, and she's pretty good at it, so I guess that just adds to how scary she can get," I say, rubbing the back of my head. Sasuke and Sakura were taken back. "How old was she when she first killed somebody?" Sakura asked curiously. I couldn't help but stiffen at the memory and stare at my sister for a second. "I don't want to talk about it," I grumbled, looking down and avoiding eye contact. "Why?" Sakura pestered on, and I think Sasuke took a hint. "I don't think he wants to tell us. Must be an unpleasant memory, so drop it," Sasuke states, giving me a knowing look. "Thanks for understanding." I grumble sheepishly and he nods. Akumi POV. Flashback. There he was, that boy. I looked down as I sat quietly in the corner of the room with my stuffed bear. "Hi, I'm Naruto Uzumaki." The blonde-haired boy smiled happily. Yet everyone tried their best to avoid eye contact. The blonde boy furrowed his brows as he was once again ignored. He looked down and a devilish smile appeared on his face as he kicked the block tower they had been building. He wasted no time in running off as the kids yelled and threw blocks at him. "Remember the name next time." He cackled and scurried off. "DCH, why does he make it harder for us?" one of them scolded as they picked up the blocks. Everyone was minding their business once more when there was a loud scream. All the children looked around and quickly began cleaning and hid. I couldn't help but whimper as I crawled under the table. Who did it? Who was causing all that ruckus? Everyone trembled at the sound of her voice down the hall. "Ow, that hurts." I could hear the unlucky victim cry out, "Shut up, rat." There was a loud smack and a thud. Everyone was motionless. Who did she get a hold of? I breathed in slowly. My hands trembled as I held onto my stuffed bear. I could hear the sound of someone being dragged and muffled crying. The door was slammed open and everyone was still. The older kids hid the younger ones behind them and urged them to be quiet and not to cry. Her hair was pinned up in a loose bun. She was thin and her mouth always pursed in a frown. Her dark eyes scanned the room for anything out of place. In her hand she held a fistful of blonde hair and was dragging that boy. He had a name that no one used. Anyone that used it got treated just like him. She began walking forward. The clanking of her prosthetic leg filled the room. Her frown turned into a smile as she stood in front of another kid. He had short curly ginger hair and green eyes. He fidgeted under her gaze. She bent down and gently caressed his cheek. Everyone froze. What was going to happen? She was mad, wasn't she? In an instant her smile turned into a wicked grin as she grabbed a fistful of his hair and smashed his head against the table I was hiding under. I couldn't help but flinch and try pushing myself as close to the wall as I could. I could hear the kid cry and see him squirm on the floor holding his head. I forced myself to look away and I was met with sky blue eyes. That boy was looking straight at me. I could see him from underneath the table. He was helplessly trying to pry the headmistress's hand off him. I could see the dark red and purple bruise on his cheek and his swollen eye. Tears were streaming down his face and I couldn't seem to look away. I held back my tears and covered my mouth. He looked at me mouthing, "Help me." And before I could do anything he was thrown to the side, his body hitting the wall and falling on some toys. "Anyone want to say anything? I've told you to keep quiet. And you." She pointed at that boy. "If I ever see you smiling I'll make sure you pick your teeth up from the floor," she hissed, kicking him with her prosthetic leg. The boy yelped and squirmed as he held his stomach and curled up trying to cover himself with his arms. She glared at him and turned her heel, walking out of the room, slamming the door. Everyone was quiet. The older kids hurried to help the ginger-haired boy trying to clean up the blood and stop the bleeding. I crawled from underneath the table and looked at the blonde boy. "Are you okay?" I whispered softly as I took a look at his bruised face. His eye was almost swollen shut by now. He grunted and slowly turned to look at me. His one eye was wide in shock. I froze for a moment and looked around me. Everyone was staring at me. Some of them backing away slowly and pulling their younger siblings closer to them. I had done the taboo. I had helped that boy. We all sat on the boat. I had to keep reminding Naruto to be quiet, but like always he seemed to forget and go back to being loud and bubbly. It's so by I covered his mouth as he was being loud once again. "Naruni. You have to be quieter," I sighed and he gave me an apologetic smile. "Sorry." I sighed and patted his head. It's okay. I smile. It's not like I could ever really scold him. Just seeing him frown, much less cry, was enough to break my heart in two, so I always tended to try persuading him to do my biting. We got off the boat. I helped Naruto down, much to his distaste. "Alright, you guys can stay at my house while you're here, like a token of my gratitude." Tazuna smiled and we all gave our thanks except Sasuke, who never thanks anybody. "Man, I can't believe it, we are almost done with the B-ranked mission." Naruto smiled widely. "Don't celebrate just yet." Kakashi-sensei sighed, patting Naruto's head. "Well, let's go then." Sakura smiled as we got in manji formation and began our trip to Tazuna's house. Naruto seemed concentrated in something before he pulled a shuriken out and threw it. "There's something there," he called out. We all tensed and looked over at that direction. "No, it's over there." He threw a kunai to another area. "Naruto, those aren't toys. You'll hurt yourself if you don't stop," Kakashi sighed. "Hee, I was sure there was something there." Naruto apologized. "Tch, Naruto, you knucklehead." Sakura crossed her arms and rolled her eyes. "Wait." Naruto threw another kunai and there was a rustling sound. We all glanced and hurried to check it out. There was a small white rabbit and I couldn't help but wonder why there was a snow rabbit in a place this hot in the middle of summer. "Idiot," Sakura snapped, hitting Naruto upside the head. I gritted my teeth and couldn't help but seethe in anger. How dare she hurt my brother? I was about to beat the shit out of her when Kakashi yelled, "Get down," and my body instantly reacted. The sound of a large weapon passing over our heads and the clanking of it hitting wood brought me out of my small anger reaction. "Tch, a bunch of genins." I looked over and felt my blood run cold. Zabuza Momochi, a goddamn legendary swordsmith, a S-ranked criminal. I gulped and stood up unsteadily, unable to get over my momentary shock. Kakashi the copycat nin. No wonder the demon brothers fell. "You killed one, captured the other." Zabuza was talking but stopped, his eyes falling on me. He scanned me and smirked. "Looks like the village hidden in the leaves doesn't just have little pansy genin." Zabuza chuckled as he grabbed his sword and jumped down. I took a deep breath and held my kunai. "Ichi formation," I called out, and everyone placed themselves around Tezna. "To think I'd meet another kid like Ninja," Zabuza chuckled. "I'm nothing like you," I hissed, frowning and glaring at him, letting all my killing intent out. It wasn't as strong as his, but it would do. Zabuza laughed. "From what I've heard, they call you the second coming of the demon of the hidden mist. I'm kind of curious, did you really kill fellow shinobi? Rumor has it a 6-year-old little girl went on a rampage in the village's annual Fox Festival and killed 3 Chunin ninja and 4 civilian. And that it took a few Jonin and Onbu to subdue her. They also said they locked you up in a cell like the little monster you are, before training you to use your abilities as a weapon." Zabuza mocked, but Sensei stepped in. "I'd appreciate it if you left my cute little Jinana alone," Kakashi hissed, annoyed and stepping in front of me. I couldn't help but let go of my breath that even I didn't know I was holding. I glanced at Naruto, who looked pissed, and he gave me a small reassuring smile. I wasn't a murderer, the old man and Naruto had to drill that into my head. I didn't even glance at Sakura or Sasuke. I didn't want to see their expressions. I didn't want to know what they thought of me, and I didn't want to care. I took a deep breath. "We were going to beat this asshole to the ground. Aren't you overprotective?" I was just stating the similarities between the two of us. "I killed 100 of the academy students before I even joined the academy." She slaughtered leaf shinobi and civilians. Zabuza mocked, simply acknowledging the strength, while those other brats, I could honestly care less about them. "They're like the rest of your village. Pathetic." Zabuza smirked as the mist got thicker. I noticed Sensei lifted up his headband. Sensei's eye was a bright red with black tomoes. I scanned the area, sensing for his chakra, when it suddenly spiked and the battle begun. I hissed as I dodged. Taking in a deep breath, I concentrated my chakra. "Heavenly chakra chains no jutsu." I gasped out, ignoring the slight pain from where the chakra erupted from my body to form 6 long gold-like chains. Kakashi-sensei was in a water prison jutsu, and my job was to distract Zabuza and destroy the water clone blocking our way. One of my chains instantly went through Zabuza's clone, destroying it, while Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura launched their attack. "Evil windmill shadow shuriken." Sasuke yelled from behind me, and I noticed the giant shuriken speeding towards Zabuza, whilst 2 kunais with exploding tags dashed to either side of him to prevent him from dodging. I didn't bother to glance back as I watched their planned attack. I saw that the giant shuriken had a second one hidden underneath, and I couldn't help but smile. But after Zabuza jumped over the shuriken and it turned into Naruto, I couldn't help but become tense at the sight of my brother so close to Zabuza. Naruto flicked a kunai directly at Zabuza's hand, forcing him to let go. My blood ran cold the second I saw Zabuza attack Naruto. My feet moved on their own and I ran to him to try and block the attack. Everything went in slow motion but my body didn't move fast enough. I kept staring straight at Naruto as I ran toward him. A horrid feeling filled my chest as I knew I wasn't going to be fast enough. Just as Zabuza's blade came down, a tall bulky figure stopped it. I could feel tears of joy swell in my eyes. Kakashi-sensei had blocked the attack. Naruto moved quickly as he swam away from the two high-class shinobi. My nerves felt on edge, but seeing Naruto get further and further from the two battling ninja gave me a sense of relief. Flashback. It hadn't always been like this, at least that's what the big kids always said. The orphanage had a maximum age limit. At 12 kids would become ninja or given an allowance till they got through civilian school and a job, but both were given an apartment to help them out. That was still something that occurred. What had changed was the orphanage itself. Greenleaf Orphanage, a large complex with a good portion of land and placed off to the side of the village. It had a large amount of space so that kids could have room to run an academy, students a place to practice. The building was a light brown and wasn't worn down at all. It was well maintained with flower patches and small gardens that some children would tend to for hobbies. Overall, the place had an appealing feel to it, but it was quiet. In the open fields and playground, a place that had once thrived with laughing children playing, were deadly silent. The flower beds remained maintained, but there weren't little girls plucking the small flowers to play with or give them to the headmistress anymore. It had all happened after the attack. Many children were orphaned, and due to the damage caused by the fox, most of them were placed in the orphanage along with their younger siblings. Many of the children had been brought as infants and toddlers, never knowing their parents' faces or having no relatives. And apparently that's when she arrived. Timuro Detsuma, a retired ninja with medic background. She was just supposed to be there for a while to help out with the smaller children since the previous headmistress was of older age. It happened too quick for anyone to really catch it. The older kids say she would forget things or call us by the wrong names, but before anyone knew it she had developed Alzheimer. It was like everything good from our small little home was turned upside down. Timuro-sama was lean and tall with a ninja-built body. She always had her hair tied up, and her most noticeable aspect was the prosthetic leg she had. The big kids always whispered the rumors they heard on their way back from the academy. They said that Timuro-sama had been a strong ninja, but that she lost her leg in the Nine Tails attack. Line up. I heard Timuro-sama yell and everyone hurried to where she was. I stood up and hurried down a flight of stairs as fast as my little feet could take me. From oldest to youngest we filed up in a single line and stood quietly. I could tell some of the kids beside me were fidgeting, all of us wondering why we were called up. Timuro-sama eyes scanned over us as she walked around us. "You." She growled, grabbing Naruto by the arm and pulling him out of line roughly. We all flinched and did our best to avoid eye contact. I nervously twirled a strand of my hair when I noticed she was standing in front of me. I slowly looked up, but just as I was going to look at her face I stopped. She'll hit me if I make eye contact. She always hits us when we look at her face. I trembled slightly. Did she know I tried to help that boy? Who told her? Did she hear it but didn't say anything till now? "You're Akumi Uzumaki, right?" Her voice was stern and harsh. "Why yes, Timuro-sama," I stuttered out, letting my eyes wander, avoiding any eye contact with her, but she stayed quiet and grasped my hand. She yanked me forward, causing me to trip and stumble forward. She held my wrist tightly as she began walking, taking us both away. I wanted to cry. She was going to hit us. She always hit that boy, and she was going to hit me alongside him. I could feel my lip tremble and my eyes swell with tears. I held back a sob as she pulled us into a room. "You will be meeting an important person today. His name is Lord Saratobi. He's the Hokage." She spoke quickly as she took a seat and pulled us close. "I want you on your best behavior, and if he asks you anything about me or the orphanage you have to tell him how we are like a big happy family," she stated as her hands glowed a faint green. "But we aren't a big happy," Naruto started off before she cut him off. Now Naruto darling, don't say things like that." She cooed softly, running her fingers through his blonde hair. "You're like a son to me. You just misbehave and I have to discipline you," she added, placing a soft kiss on the top of his head. "Mommy loves you very much. I discipline you so that you grow up to be a good man. Don't I feed you? I take care of all of you, but do realize there's only one of me and I need help since I'm missing my leg." She spoke softly, stroking his cheek and then holding his hands gently while placing a small kiss on top of them. "You too, Akumi dear. I love you too very much. Now won't you tell Lord Hokage that? Tell him I'm like your mommy, okay dear?" She gently took my hand, pulling me to her. You think of us as your children?" I asked, my eyes watering. I never had a mommy before and now I did. "Of course I do." She smiled, pulling us both close to her and wrapping her arms around us. "Tell Lord Hokage how happy you are to be here with me, and how much the kids love to play, okay?" she stated as she stood up. "You two wait here, I'm going to go greet the Hokage." She smiled as she walked out of the room. I glanced at the boy, slightly fidgeting. "Hi, I'm Naruto." he semi-whispered sitting beside me. I looked down embarrassed. I didn't know what to say to him. Do you hate me too? Naruto asked frowning and I quickly shook my head. And no, it's just, I don't know what to say. I whisper back embarrassed. Well, what's your name? He asked. I'm Akumi. I mumble as I looked up at him. Are you new? I've never seen you before. Naruto asked and I shook my head. I've always been here. I always see you, even when you get in trouble. I'm usually in the playroom upstairs on the purple chair near the table. I always play with the white bunny. I timidly replied, oh, well thanks for helping me the other day. He mumbled. I couldn't help but smile a little. You were welcome. But what did you do? I asked. What do you mean? He asked cocking his head. What do you do that makes Timura-sama discipline you? He looked down and shrugged. I don't know, sometimes I'm not doing anything and she hits me. She says she doesn't like me because I'm bad but I don't know what I do. He mumbled looking down and avoiding eye contact. Oh, but she said she loved you so maybe she doesn't think you're bad anymore. I smile at him and he looks up at me in awe. Do you really think so? He asked and I nodded. Yup, I do. I giggle softly. Before we can say anything else the door opens and Timura-sama walks in with an old man wearing white and red clothes. Naruto, Akumi, this is the third Hokage, say hello. She smiled as she approached us. Naruto looked up at the old man, blinked and smiled widely. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. He smiled brightly as he stood in front of him. I stood behind him slightly fidgeting and embarrassed. Hello, I stuttered out waving a little. The old man chuckled. Well, it's a pleasure meeting you, Naruto. He smiled as he leaned down and pet Naruto's head. What about you, what's your name? He asked me and I blushed. I'm Akumi. I say softly as I tried to hide behind Naruto. Timuro, I'm going to be taking these two out today. I'm sure you wouldn't mind. The old man said glancing at Timuro-sama. Are you sure, Lord Third? They can be a handful. She asked as she walked over to Naruto and I. It's fine, I've had children of my own. I know how to deal with them. I'll bring them back later. He chuckled waving off her comment. You're right, sorry for worrying. It's just that I worry about all the children here. She gave a soft smile and the old man nodded. Now Naruto, Akumi, how would you two like celebrating your third birthday with me? He smiled and our eyes widened. I had never tasted such yummy food. Can I have one more, old man? Naruto asked as he had finished his ramen bowl. Lord Third laughed and nodded. Order what you like, Naruto. It is your birthday. I couldn't help but tug on the old man's robe. Why did you visit us? I asked him. I had been confused. Nobody ever went to the orphanage. The older kids say that they were trying to rebuild their lives and didn't have time to adopt us. He cocked a brow and sighed. I know you two since you were babies, but with rebuilding the village I hadn't had a chance to come visit you. I'm the leader of this village. My job is to make sure everything is well and protecting everyone. So I was quite busy recently. He sighed and I nodded in understatement. Walking around the village was something new. The people and other kids were amusing. I had already forgot the orphanage in me. Naruto and the old man were having a good time. I held Naruto's hand as we were pointing out the things we liked when the old man led us to his office, which was in a giant red building. This is my office. He smiled as he opened the door. Wow, so this is where you tell all the ninja what they need to do? Naruto asked as he looked around excitedly. I guess it is, he chuckled as he sat down on his chair. Now there's something really important I have to tell you, so please sit down. The old man stated and we quickly complied. I waited to tell you this because when you were younger you probably wouldn't have understood, but now that you're older I think it's time I told you. The old man started off. I cocked my head to the side wondering what he was going to tell us. When you two were first born your mother handed you to me and told me your names before she passed. The only thing she was able to say was that you were twins. He finished off. Gramps, what does twins mean? I asked him. He gave me a small smile. It means that you two are brother and sister. You have the same mother and father and were born together. He smiled gently and I felt warm tears stream down my face. So you're my sister? Naruto asked, his voice cracking as he slung his arms around me and pulled me into a hug. I was shocked but slowly wrapped my arms around him. So you're saying Naruto's my brother? I asked, my voice quivering as I buried my face into his shoulder. The old man gave a curt nod. Yes, and you two must protect each other. You are the only family you have left. Unfortunately all of your other relatives have passed away. Remember that. He spoke softly as Naruto and I pulled away nodding. Who's the oldest? Naruto asked and Gramps sighed. Your mother was never able to tell me. All she told me was your names. I'm sorry, but you two can decide. He smiled and we both looked at each other. How about I call you Naruto-ni and you call me Akumi-ne, that way we are both the oldest. I smiled at him as I entwined our fingers. Okay, Akumi-ne. Naruto smiled widely. Naruto Akumi, I know being an orphan is hard. But promise me you'll help and protect each other and that you will do anything to keep each other safe no matter what, and that if you ever feel in danger you'll tell me." Naruto and I looked at each other and smiled at each other before turning to Gramps and nodding. "I'll protect big brother no matter what," I say, placing my hand against my chest. Naruto's eyes widen and he began crying. "I'll protect my big brother no matter what. I'll never let him get hurt again." The battle between our sensei continued and I helped pull Naruto out of the water. "Grab onto something," I yelled as the backlash of the water style just as they were preforming came towards us. I focused chakra to the soles of my feet, not bothering to let myself stare starstruck at the justice and focusing on keeping the group safe. I held on to Naruto, keeping us grounded as the shockwaves hit the shore. I gasped for air when the water cleared, seeing Sensei cornered Zabuza. I held my breath in anticipation, hoping Sensei would kill him, but suddenly 2 Saban needles hit Zabuza on his neck, causing him to collapse. "Sensei, check his pulse," I say as I loosened my grip on Naruto. "He has no pulse." Kakashi-sensei replied. A small figure appeared from the trees. "Thank you, I was looking for an opportunity to kill him," the said person said. They had their face covered behind a plain white mask. "You must be a hunter ninja from the village hidden in the mist." Kakashi spoke up, covering his Sharingan again. "Yes, I will now dispose of the body," he stated, picking up Zabuza and vanishing. I couldn't help but relax a bit knowing Zabuza was dead. I instantly looked at Naruto, tears brimming my eyes. "Idiot, don't put yourself in danger like that again." "What would I do if I lost you?" I exclaimed, pulling him into a bone-crushing hug. I didn't care to see anyone's reaction, I was just happy knowing my brother was alive. "Akumi, you're crushing me." Naruto groaned as we heard a thud. I turned to see Sensei passed out. "Sensei?" Sakura instantly went to check on him. "He probably overused his chakra," I say, letting go of Naruto and walking to Kakashi-sensei's side. "I'll take him," I grumble, slipping into his body and forcing him to stand up. "How? You can control him even if he's unconscious?" Sakura stated, awestruck. "Yeah, and I'll heal him from the inside out, so let's go," I say through Kakashi-sensei. "That's creepy." Tazuna sweat dropped and sighed. "How about you rest at my place, as a thanks for protecting me?" he stated, and I nodded, shoving my hands in my pocket, testing my impersonating skills. "Sounds good, what do you guys think?" I asked, and they all sweat dropped. "It's hard to decide if that's cool or very creepy considering we know Sensei is knocked out," Sasuke stated, and I chuckled. "Just working on my impersonating skills," I say, glancing back at Naruto, smiling knowing that he was safe. "I'll lead the way," Tazuna said, looking at me weirded out. With that we went to rest. "Hi my little children, hope you liked the update, and if you want to know the flashback, they are children. Children are easily manipulated, especially when they were taught to obey a certain person and isolated from other influences or ideals. Also, children don't know right from wrong if they aren't taught. Please keep that in mind while reading this book." I scanned Kakashi-sensei's body, slowly pushing chakra into his system. "Is Kakashi-sensei going to be okay?" Sakura asked, and I couldn't help but sigh. "He needs rest." The Sharingan drained his chakra very quickly and he was using high-ranked attacks, I say, standing up and glancing at them. "Well, at least we don't have to worry about that Zabuza guy anymore." Naruto smiled and I crossed my arms. "Luckily we don't, but seriously, you guys are too reckless. You nearly got Naruto killed. If Sensei hadn't been there he would have cut Naruni in half," I hissed, angry at the plan that had come up with. "But I didn't get hurt and we made it out with small injuries, besides I was the only that could pull that off," Naruto stated, and I slightly glared at him. "Well, it was reckless. Placing yourself in dangerous situations like that," I started ranting, and Naruto frowned. "Well, the plan worked and we are safe and you don't have to worry about it," Naruto butted in. We both narrowed our eyes at each other, trying to get each other to back down. "I've told you that you can't baby me as much as you used to. Admit it. If it had been Sasuke or Sakura that would have done what I did, you would be praising their teamwork and wouldn't be nagging about how they out themselves in danger," Naruto stated, annoyed. "But because it was me, you want to get on my case just because you don't trust my abilities, or because you think that I should always sit in the rear and stay away from anything remotely dangerous? I'm a ninja and I will be on a few dangerous missions, that's literally part of the job. Bio," he grumbled. The three of them were awaiting my response, or to at least deny the claims, but I said nothing. It's not like what he was saying wasn't true. I turned my heel. "I'm going to help Tsunami," I grumbled, storming out of the guest bedroom at Tazuna's home. Dinner was awkward. Well, at least for Naruto and I, since he was doing his best to avoid me. I had tried to sit beside him, but he moved between Sakura and Sasuke, and every time I talked to him he would look away. I sighed at his stubbornness. Yes, I got his point. He had made it clear that he was no longer weak and that he had the skill, but I just couldn't help but try to keep him out of danger. I sighed, knowing I had messed up. I licked my lips and took a deep breath. "I'm sorry." Naruto slowly turned and looked at me, a smile spreading across his face. I gave him a half smile and looked down. See, that wasn't so hard. He smiled, standing up and plopping down beside me. I looked down at my hands. I hate fighting with him. I hate having him avoid looking at me and ignore me. It made me feel guilty. I felt Naruto pat my head reassuringly and I looked up to him. It's okay, I'm not that mad. Besides, I guess it wasn't such a big deal. He smiled and I quickly pulled him into a hug. I felt better. I know I was wrong and having apologized felt like a weight off my shoulders. I'm sorry for getting like that. When he attacked you, I felt that I wouldn't be fast enough to save you. I saw you nearly get killed and the thought of you not being with me scared me. I whispered lowly so only he could hear. Oh, I didn't think you felt that way, he mumbled, hugging me back. I promise I'll try to be more careful, he stated as we pulled away. I looked up at him and nodded. Things seemed to go back to normal. Naruto had stopped ignoring me. Sakura was chatting away and Sasuke and I were quietly listening. The door suddenly opened and a small kid walked in. His eyes scanned the room as he looked at us. He walked in and sat down in front of us. He snickered and narrowed his eyes. Grandpa, are they going to die? He asks in a mocking tone. I couldn't help but stiffen at his comment, glancing at him momentarily. Inari, Tsunami scolded. Well, they're going to die going against Gato. Inari added and Naruto frowned. We aren't going to die, because we're going to beat him up. I'm going to be Hokage one day, so it's expected that I beat up the bad guys, Naruto stated, crossing his arms. As if, you're going to die. Gato's going to kill you. You might as well go back home, Inari snapped, but before he could stand up I slammed my hand on the table. Nobody screamed at my brother like that, and especially go on about him dying. Everyone turned to me slightly wide-eyed at my reaction. Listen here, brat. I was against continuing this mission in the first place. If it had been my will, we would have let your grandfather out there to die and branded him into a blacklist so neither him or your family could ever ask for ninja services. And if you want us to leave that badly, I'll carry our sensei back home and we can leave. The fact is, our mission is to escort your grandfather back home and protect him from bandits. Unfortunately for you, we are already out of the perimeters of our mission. Not only have we already escorted him, meaning we can return and still get our pay and say we completed the mission, but this mission has risen past the set perimeters your grandfather paid for, so we don't need to protect you. We are simply doing it out of kindness. So keep pushing your luck and I'll make sure to personally hand you over to Gato's rogues. I hiss out, glaring at him as I stood up. I've lost my appetite. This child pisses me off. I say, standing up and walking outside, ignoring Tsunami's face of shock. Go men, my sister can be a bit harsh sometimes. I heard Naruto say as I shut the door, not bothering with him anymore. That kid annoyed me. He was a crybaby, that was for sure. Did he not realize we aren't obliged to protect him or his family from rogue ninja? Tazuna guilt-tripped us to help out and I agreed because of my brother. I walked upstairs silently and plopped down in the hallway and decided to meditate. Akumi, Tsunami-san said we are sharing rooms, Sakura stated, and my eyes snapped open as I was brought out of my meditation. Also, Kakashi-sensei said we have training tomorrow. She added, we are sharing rooms? I think it would be best if I bunk with Naru. I was cut off. Kakashi-sensei said girls with girls, guys with guys. Believe me, I tried to convince him otherwise. Sakura sighed, crossing her arms. Now help me set our bed, she sighed, holding out her arm, which I generously took. Why does he think he can decide for us? I grumble as I followed her to the room we were going to sleep in. We unfurled the extra bed, placing the pillows in place and taking out the blankets. I sighed as I grabbed my things and quickly went to the bathroom and took a quick shower. I was happy to take off the blood-stained clothes. I had dried blood and dirt underneath my nails and in my hair. My clothes were slightly caked with blood that had slightly stiffened, so it was nice to put on a fresh set of clothes. I walked out, Sakura walking in after me. Akumi, you going to bed? I turned to see Naruto and nod. It's been a long day, I say, thinking about the ninja we had fought, and he nodded in agreement. If you need anything, I'll be in that room, he stated, pointing at the room down the hall from mine. I nod as he huged me and kissed my forehead, having to get on his tippy toes. I couldn't help but feel bad since he was shorter than me, and hugged him back and kissed his cheek. Night, Ni-chan. I smiled as I trotted down the hall to my room and crawled into bed. I sighed and closed my eyes. I could feel sleep overcome my senses and drifted into sleep. Flashback. Your hair is the same color as the old woman's favorite flower. Naruto smiled as he plucked the red flower and held it up. I couldn't help but giggle as I crouched down beside him. Hibiko-ne-chan says they're called spider lilies, I say as I took a closer look at it. Spider lily, huh? Well, Akumi-ne, you're as pretty as a spider lily. He smiled widely, placing the flower in my hair. I couldn't help but smile. You think so? But my face is so chubby and my hair makes me look ugly. I grumble as I look down, glancing at Naruto slightly. He cocked his head slightly, placing a hand underneath his chin. What are you talking about, Ne-chan? You're the prettiest girl. "And your hair is as pretty as the spider lilies," he stated as he plucked another one, placing it in my hair. I could feel tears swell in my eyes. "I'm pretty?" I asked as I wiped my eyes. "Yeah, Bio. You're the prettiest girl." He smiled widely. "It's about to be lunchtime, get cleaned up." One of the older kids called out and Naruto stood up and held out his hand to help me up, which I generously took. "We better hurry or we won't get a good plate of food." Naruto smiled as we entwined hands and walked into the orphanage. The kids looked at us wearily. I was the quiet girl who turned out to be that boy's only living family. It had been a while since our third birthday and I was happy to say I wasn't alone anymore. I had my brother who was kinda nice to me, and we did everything together from the moment we woke up till the moment we had to go to our assigned bed to sleep. We were together. I didn't care what anyone thought about him. I finally had someone and nothing made me happier. We walked up the stairs. "I'll wait for you at the bottom of the stairs," Naruto said as he turned walking down the boys' side of the hall, and I quickly hurried to the girls' dormitory. I walked in the room. The room was large and there were rows of beds against the wall. There was 2 large wardrobes against the furthest wall. All of the other girls were getting dressed and changing out of their dirty clothes. I took a deep breath and clenched my fists. I shakily walked forward to where they were. Most of the girls moved out of the way and tried to avoid looking at me. I took a step back. Maybe I could wait until they were done. Hopefully they left clothes that fit me. I stood to the side. Some of the older girls looked at me with a sad look as they urged the girls my age to hurry up. Before I knew it, I was alone. I could never bring myself talk much to them. I couldn't even look them in the eye before wanting to hide. I was aware that I was too shy for my own good. I checked the wardrobe. Most shirts were too big for me and so were the skirts and shorts. I looked around the drawers looking for something to change into when I pulled out a blue sundress. I held it up and smiled. It was a little old but still really pretty. There wasn't any stains on it or fading. I quickly undressed and put the dress on. I looked at the full-body mirror on the wardrobe. I smiled widely and twirled. I looked at the spider lilies in my hair and twirled a strand of my hair. "Nichan's right, I am pretty," I say as I look at my reflection. I suddenly felt someone touching my hair and I looked up to see Timuro-sama. I gulped slightly out of habit, but she smiled warmly and I relaxed slightly as I looked at our reflection. "You look pretty," she spoke softly and I smiled. "Thank you, Timuro-sama," I reply meekly. "Call me Ka-san, mom/mommy." I looked at her and smiled widely. I liked knowing I now had a mommy. "Thank you, Ka-san," I say happily. She smiled widely. My blood seemed to run cold at the sight. Her hand grasped my hair tightly and before I could do anything my face was rammed into the glass. I felt a stinging pain on my face as she pulled me back and slammed my body forward. I could hear the sound of the glass cracking. I felt something warm run down my face as I screamed. My face felt hot and ached. There was a stinging pain that seemed to pulse as she rammed my face forward. I desperately tried to pry her hands off me. I could hear her laughter. I tried to get away, my muscles tensing as I tried to pull away from the now shattered mirror. I opened my eyes slightly, only being able to see her reflection. There was that wicked smile, the one that made us all quiver and hide. I couldn't even register what I was saying as I begged her to let go. "Mommy thinks you're a horrible child that needs to be punished," she whispered lowly in my ear as she held me up by the fistful of hair, and before I could beg to be forgiven she rammed me out of the mirror again. I gasped. I couldn't cry, I only gasped for air as she let me go. I fell to my knees. I could see the blood on my hands and the shards of glass on the floor. There was a numbing, stinging pain on my face that made me want to scream. I didn't care to look up as I shook in fear and terror. Mommy was mad and I was scared. "DCH, it's no fun when you're quiet," she grumbled. I could hear her footsteps as she got further. I could only flinch at them as I stared at the blood in horror. What was I supposed to do? Everything hurt. I wanted my big brother. I wanted it to stop hurting. "Akumi, what's taking so long? What happened?" I heard Big Brother's voice as he ran towards me, pulling me up. I stared into his big blue eyes. She hurt you, that old bitch, come on." He gritted his teeth as he pulled me to the bathroom. It hurt, but I didn't want to cry because it always hurts worse when you cry. I woke up gasping. I felt my heart was beating out of my chest. My mouth felt dry. "She's not here," I mumbled to myself as I got out of bed. I glanced at Sakura, who was quietly sleeping. Maybe I didn't move too much in my sleep. I walked down the hall. I bit my lower lip. Why couldn't I just get over this? Insomnia seemed to always plague me, insomnia and night terrors. But it wasn't like they were nothing. Most of the time they were just memories, and that didn't make it better. I let my hand trace one of my scars on my forehead. I have to know he's okay, I thought to myself as I slowly opened the door to Naruto and Sasuke's room. I tiptoed inside and past Sasuke. I couldn't help but frown. Why couldn't I ever stop worrying? I sat by Naruto and started checking his pulse, breathing and heartbeat. I smiled as I realized everything was okay. Not a single bruise on his face or any alarming signs of possible death. He's okay, he's not hurt anymore. He's alive and well now, I chanted to myself silently. It was something ingrained to me by years of brainwashing and torture from that woman that made me like this. She was a sadist who found pleasure in torturing and watching fear and paranoia plague her victims. And even after all the years of her death, the fear she planted never left. I saw Naruto's steady breathing and I calmed down. He wasn't hurt or dying but sleeping peacefully. "You okay?" I heard a soft whisper and I noticed Naruto was awake. I couldn't help but feel embarrassed as I nodded. "Flashback?" he asked and I truthfully nodded. "It's not a relapse but I had to make sure you were okay." I mumbled truthfully. "Which one was it this time?" he asked sitting up. "The mirror and the blue dress," I mumbled looking down at my hands, they were still shaking. Naruto sat up bringing me into a hug. I hugged him back, my shaking seemed calmed down and breathing seemed to become steadier. "Here, lay down, you can sleep with me," Naruto mumbled as he scooted over making sure not getting into Sasuke's space. I couldn't help but nod as I lay down. I felt a bit of relief as I cuddled up next to him. I could hear his heartbeat and feel his chakra, which soothed me. I drifted off into deep sleep. I could always sleep better knowing Naruto was nearby and safe from her hands. Third POV. Unknowing to both of them, Sasuke had woken up when she walked in and listened carefully. He couldn't help but wonder why she had looked so shaken up. When she walked in, she wasn't exactly quiet. She was shaking and muttering small comforting phrases to herself, even if it was an unconscious action. Something along the lines of "she isn't here anymore, she can't hurt Nissan." Her muttering had gotten louder when she was near Naruto checking him. It was to the point she had been sniffling, almost sounding like she was going to burst into tears. That is until Naruto spoke up. "You okay?" It was like she had been brought out of her daze and brought back to her senses, and it could only make Sasuke wonder and question her actions. Flashbacks? Relapsing? Did something happen to them when they were little? Sasuke could only wonder what exactly scared her enough to make her act the way she had been. It made him want to pry in and demand answers to satisfy his curiosity, but with his own past also being something unpleasant, he knew prying in was rude and insensitive. He noticed they didn't say anything else and decided to go back to sleep. He would find out at some point. Akumi POV. I woke up in the morning. After sleeping next to Naruto, I had a dreamless sleep and I couldn't help but feel better. It was always better when I didn't dream or remember anything. I stood up and glanced at Naruto for a second before heading to my room to get ready for the day. I walked in noticing Sakura was still asleep, so I was quiet as I got dressed into my ninja clothes. I brushed my long hair before placing it in a low ponytail and putting my headband on. I finished getting dressed and put my ninja pouches on. I walked downstairs to see Tazuna and Tsunami awake. "Good morning." Tsunami smiled as she cooked. "Good morning," I say as I walk up to her. "Allow me to help you make breakfast." She looked at me and nodded. "Sure," she stated. I was kinda happy she didn't take what I said to Inari to heart yesterday, although it was true. Sensei came out using crutches to hold himself up. "Morning, Sensei," I say as I began setting the table. "Good morning, Akumi. Did you sleep well?" he asked, and I gave him a smile. "Yes, I did," I say, lying through my teeth. The rest of the team started to come out and sat down at the table. "Does anyone remember what the hunter nin used to kill Zabuza?" he asked, and we all looked up at him. "Saban," Sakura stated, and Kakashi nodded. "Correct, he used Saban, a usually non-deadly weapon, meaning he could be alive," he sighed. "So for now let's talk about training for that rematch." Hello lovelies, hope you liked this update, although I wish to get out this arc quickly so not much will be changed and it will be shortened. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at Sasuke and Naruto. Lately Kakashi-sensei had made us practice the tree walking technique, which I already knew and Sakura quickly mastered. I had gone to practicing my stamina and hand sign speed while going over strategies and medicinal herbs with Sakura. The two chakra powerhouses were barely standing as they limped into the room. "Naruto-ni, I've told you it's dangerous to exhaust your chakra reserves like that," I sighed as I stood up, crossing my arms. He gave me a cheesy smile as Sasuke set him down. "Oh come on Akumi, it isn't that bad, besides I promise I'll eat, take a bath and head straight to bed," he stated sheepishly as Sasuke rolled his eyes and took a seat. I glanced at Sensei and cocked a brow, signaling him to at least scold them for their reckless behavior. Kakashi-sensei sighed, slightly lowering his chopsticks. "You two shouldn't lower your chakra too much or you'll end up straining yourselves." He deadpanned and they both scoffed. I couldn't help but sigh as well, knowing they were probably thinking Sensei had no right to get onto them as well, considering he too had strained his chakra coils, and even worse than they just had in his last battle. "You were one to talk, Sensei," Naruni quickly voiced and confirmed my train of thought. "Anyways, how high did you two make it this time?" Sakura asked, and Naruni gave her a cheesy smile. "The team and I finally made it to the top this time. That Mumu Rogue Ninja guy, I won't know what hit him." He cheered and Sasuke solemnly nodded with a smirk plastered on his face. That's good to know, considering how large both of your chakra supplies are, you can finally start using all that chakra correctly. I say shrugging and Kakashi-sensei nodded. You four hurry up and eat, we have a long day ahead of us tomorrow. He added. Hi sensei. It took me a while to finally be able to fall asleep, but obviously I ended up waking up several times. Kakashi-sensei had talked to me telling me to try and sleep by myself, and if I woke up with flashbacks again that I could go to Naruto's room and sleep there. He also gave me a small lecture about bottling up all of my concerns and worries. Although he was right, he understood the situation and was quite lenient. We all woke up early, well except for Naruni, who seemed to still be recovering from the chakra loss of the previous night and fortnight. Sensei, are we just going to let him sleep in? Sakura asked as we stood at Naruto and Sasuke's bedroom door. I guess we will have to. It seems he won't be waking up anytime soon, besides he'll be safe here. Kakashi-sensei sighed and I nodded in agreement. Better here and resting than there and in danger. I hummed out. I wasn't too concerned with leaving him in the house where I was certain that Zabuza wouldn't attack. I checked my ninja pouch once last time before following Tazuna out. Arriving at the bridge, we instantly noticed something off. There was a thick mist and bodies were littered everywhere. I instantly grabbed a kunai. All three of us got in a defensive position. Get ready, he's here somewhere. Kakashi-sensei hissed as Ida got in a defensive position as well. Would you look at that, it's the little demon and her copycat sensei. I see your genin are still as weak as ever. Look at them, they're already shaking. Zabuza smirked as the mist cleared around him and the hunter nin. I couldn't help but hiss at the nickname. Trembling of excitement. Sasuke smirked as he held up two kunai. DCH, is that right? Zabuza chuckled as he made a water clone who instantly ran towards Sasuke. He moved swiftly and was able to impale the clone, forcing it to dispel. Haku, would you look at that, you got a bit of competition going on. Zabuza cackled. Sasuke, you take care of the hunter nin. Normally I'd send Akumi, but we need her close to the client in case he manages to injure him. Kakashi commanded and we both nodded. Sakura, your Akumi's back up. I expect you to protect Tazuna in case Akumi has to go into battle. He added and Sakura nodded. Hi, sensei. We had split into 3 small fights. Sasuke and Haku were off to the side in a ice dome. Kakashi-sensei, who was stalling Zabuza and me. Flashback tilde. PCH, let's do this. Sasuke smirked as he started his battle with Haku. Both had went off to the side and were clashing. I couldn't help but feel impatient. In my opinion, Sasuke could do well to stop teasing and showing off his speed and actually try to take Haku down. It was really getting annoying, but it isn't like Kakashi would call him out. It could make Haku try to use it in his advantage. That little genin of yours is dead, Hokage. You won't be making it past this point. Zabuza smirked as he gripped his sword, having a standoff with Sensei. There was a tense silence as we all paid attention to Haku and Sasuke's battle. That is until Haku suddenly used one-hand hand signs. I gritted my teeth as I saw a giant ice dome appear around them. The hell? I gasped. What kind of jutsu is that? He, now you understand. Your brat is no match from Haku. You can consider him dead since he'll never escape Haku's Kekkei Genkai. He cackled. I glanced at Kakashi-sensei and he gave a curt nod. I instantly dashed off after them. I ducked and took a deep breath as I used my chakra chains again. Come on, little demon, is that the best you have? Zabuza's clone laughed as he slashed his sword towards me, nearly cutting my chest in half. I tried to use my kunai to counterattack and weave past his defenses, but his damn sword kept getting in the damn way. I couldn't get close to him. His sword kept me at a fair distance, close enough and I'd have a free range of attack, but if I didn't get close enough quick enough I'd be sliced in 2 pieces. Damn it. I howled internally. I had light cuts littered on my body from the nearly missed cuts and bruises forming from his punches, but I could easily ignore the pain. I had learned to deal with the stinging aches of cuts and the pondering pulses of bruises ever since I'd been a child. "Ne-chan, I'm sorry," sniffled Naruto as he shuffled slightly. I couldn't help but cock my head slightly. Why was he sorry? "Ne-chan, why are you sorry?" I asked as he started tearing up again. Because Ne-chan keeps getting hurt. You always push me behind you when mama is coming and she makes your face purple, and sometimes why you have red water coming out. He spoke softly and trembled as he twiddled his hands. It's okay. Besides, it doesn't hurt, I say, smiling widely, and he shook his head. Then why do you cry, Ne-chan? I see you, he cried out, tears spilling out of his eyes. I looked down, fiddling with my dress. It's okay, I'm okay. Don't worry about it. I'm your Ne-chan, and besides, mama's punishments don't hurt because I'm a girl and girls are very different than boys, I say, nodding. Ne-chan's eyes widen. Really, Ne-chan? I didn't know, he mumbled. Yup, that's why you never hear me cry when mama punishes me for being a bad girl. Because girls don't hurt, so stop being silly and hurry because mama is coming and you know that she said you were being bad. I say as I began to push big brother in the cabinet. But, he stuttered, but I didn't listen as I put the food containers in front of him. I took a deep breath. I wanted to cry, it always hurts and I'm scared. Shh, be quiet, okay? Your big sister has everything covered. I smile and close the door. I shakily fold my fingers the way the big kids did. Henge. I squeak out and I felt something warm inside of me swirl in my belly and I looked down at my tender hands and the blonde short hair that framed my face. It's okay because Ni-chan will be okay, so the pain will be okay. I took a deep breath and stared at the door. I could hear her coming. Mommy is mad, mommy told us not to run and we ran. I felt something cold dripping down the side of my face. My body shook as the door handle twisted and was thrown open. You insolent brat. I take you in and all you do is cause problems, mommy yelled as she reached for me. I tried to cover my face but she grasped my arm, yanking me up and balled her fist up. I bit my lip as I felt my face sting. I can't cry, Ni-chan will worry, and open the door. My body clashed against the cabinet and I couldn't breathe. Scream, cry, do something. You mock me with your silence, don't you? She growled as I tried to crawl away when I felt her stomp my leg and grab my hair, yanking me back. My mouth hung open as I tried to hold back a yelp. Stupid, stupid monster. All you do is cause unhappiness. That's why your mother and father dumped you here. They hated you, you're lucky I found you, otherwise you'd be dead. She hit me with each word. I coughed out blood and tried to hit her back. You should have died. Had it not been for you, I'd still have my leg. She screeched. My body hurt, everything hurt. Why was mommy so mean? Why did our real parents hate us? I didn't know we took her leg. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Akuma, that's what you are, a demon, you hear? Nobody loves you, because nobody likes demons, she yelled as she threw me on the ground. I have to get away, mommy is still mad. She's very mad. Why is mommy so mad today? I took a deep breath and gritted my teeth. I have to get away, she might find big brother. Look at you crawling like the little monster you are. I heard mommy say, but I didn't look back when I felt her metal leg hit me. Get out of my sight, you devil child, she sneered. I'm a horrible child, I'm sorry. Go men, mommy. I coughed out as I looked down, my voice was hoarse and trembling. I'm a monster. I felt my arms collapsed beneath me. I heard mommy laugh. Beg you, little mongrel. I crawled to mommy and lowered my head. Mommy, I'm sorry, forgive me. I coughed out and felt a kick on my sides. It hurt to breathe, it hurt to move. At least Ni-chan isn't hurting this time. You're such an annoyance. A waste of space. I heard her sneer. I didn't have the strength to look up at her. I heard the door slam shut and laid there. All I could do is stare at the door as I took in sharp, short breaths. The room got silent and all I could hear were big brother's muffled whimpers. I slowly got up, ignoring the pain around me. Release. Mumble out, feeling a warm sensation in my belly once more. I could once again see my long strands of red hair covering my face as I got up and limped to the cabinet. I slowly open it and smile. She's gone now, Ni-chan. You're safe. I croak out. Big fat tears streamed down his face and he hiccuped. Ni-chan, you're hurt again. Your eye is turning purple and there's red water coming out your mouth again. He cried out as he quickly threw himself at me, wrapping his arms around my waist. I slightly hissed at the pain coming from my sides. Naruto began to cry, his body shaking as he sobbed. Mommy hurt you again and it's all my fault, he sobbed. It's okay, Ni-chan. I say, patting his head, it's always okay. I concentrated chakra into limbs. Damn it, he knew of my chakra chains and kept blocking them. We aren't gonna let you get in Haku's way, a little Akuma. The water clone hissed and I jumped back. Earth style, spikes, I hissed as I finished the hand signs. He managed to jump out of the way of my attack. Naruto Uzumaki is here to save the day. I heard big brother yell and see a blob of orange jump straight into the ice dome. I couldn't help but sigh. Did my brother ever think anything through? I tried to concentrate, but now I knew Naruto was in there with that hunter nin. Damn it, why can't he just stay back where he's safe? I could also hear the sound of his shadow clones popping and weapons clashing against each other. The mist thickened and Zabuza clones were moving fast. The visibility wasn't making the fight easier for me, considering that I was used to trying to predict my opponent's next move by their body language. I don't have the stamina to keep this up, I hissed internally when I felt a familiar chakra being released. My body froze and the clone managed to cut my leg deeply, making me collapse. I hissed but took the chance. I used my chakra chain to hold the sword. Damn brat. A clone hissed as he kicked my face, making my head slam on the ground. Fuck, I gasped as I used another chain to pierce them. Slowly I turned to look at the direction from the chakra. I had felt it before, but when? The amount of malice and hatred that emitted from it made my body stiffen and my breathing labor. Nichan's over there. What the hell happened? I forgot all about my injuries as I slowly stood up. How dare you bastard! I heard Nichan yell, but my vision was becoming blurry. I kept walking, my body felt heavy and I was limping. The mist was still thick and I heard the sounds dogs barking behind me followed by the sound of birds chirping. Everything sounded distant but I kept walking towards where Naruto was. The mist seemed to start to clear as he came to clear view. He was looking towards the direction where Kakashi-sensei was and his eyes landed straight on me. He wasn't injured. I couldn't help but smile. "Nichan." He spoke, his voice sounding upset. I noticed the big fat tears swell in his eyes. I was worried, "But you're okay." I smiled as he ran towards me. I felt his arms wrap around me and hold me up. "You're bleeding. Hurry, use your medical ninjutsu," he cried out as I noticed he was setting me down. "I'm fine," I replied. My voice felt hoarse and he frowned. "But enough about me, are you okay?" I asked. My hands glowed green as I tried to check him for injuries. "Nichan, you baka." He glared at me as he pulled some bandages from his pouch and began wrapping my leg. What do you mean?" I didn't even get to finish as he placed my hands on my leg. "Stop worrying about me, can't you see you're bleeding out?" he yelled angrily. I was taken back and looked down to see my hands coated in blood and the bandages quickly becoming soaked. That's when I noticed that the same warm liquid was running down the side of my face. Did my head hit the concrete that hard when he kicked me? I stammer out, noticing how badly I was hurt. "Heal this one first and then your head injury, hurry." Naruto spoke quickly. I gave a curt nod as I began healing my leg. That's when I realized how much my body hurt. My head felt as if it had been split in two and there was that familiar stinging and pulsing pain. I finished healing my leg and began working on my head. "Better?" he asked and I nodded. "Rest for now," he spoke as he looked up and was staring at Kakashi-sensei, Haku and Zabuza. "You'll be alright, Nichan," and with that everything else faded. I woke up in a soft warm bed. "What happened?" I asked as I tried to get up. My body was aching and the light hurt my eyes. "Easy there, you lost quite a bit of blood, Akumi," I heard Sensei's voice. "I did?" I asked as my vision became clear. Sasuke was covered in bandages and standing off to the back with Kakashi-sensei beside him. I turned my head to see Naruto kneel down beside me and Sakura standing behind him. "What happened?" I asked drowsily. "Gato came and cut his deal with Zabuza, but not before Haku was killed. Zabuza killed Gato and we drove away the thugs." Naruto quickly filled me in. "Zabuza did quite a number on you, Akumi. You overexerted your chakra and lost a bit of blood. You passed out after healing yourself due to you're back to normal now, well plus the bruises." Kakashi-sensei sighed. "Nichan, stop pushing your limits. You always say I worry you, but when it comes down to it it's the other way around. Dadabayo." Naruto sniffled and I frowned. I really hate making him worry and cry. "Gomen, Nichan," I say as he hugged me tightly and I softly patted his head. "I'm okay. I'm always okay, Nichan." I couldn't help but cross my arms as we walked. Kakashi had been lecturing me about the recklessness in the battle. "I apologize, Sensei, I'll make sure to not be reckless again," I say as we made it back to the village. "You and Sasuke were the ones who ended up being hurt the most. I expect you two to head straight to the hospital and I want to see your medical report afterwards." "Understood." Kakashi-sensei sighed and we nodded. "I guess you're all dismissed while I go turn in the mission report," he added as he signed us in at the gate. "Come on, Nichan, I want you to go to the doctor," Naruto stated, tugging at my arm. "Fine," I stated as we walked to the hospital. "You overexerted yourself again, Akumi-san. I do suggest you take it a little easy on training," the nurse stated as she wrote on her clipboard. "But she's going to be alright, right?" Naruni asked and the nurse nodded. "Give her another week, the wounds were almost all healed up and just the strain in her system, that's all," the nurse stated and Naruto nodded. "Here the copy for your sensei. And do take it easy." The nurse handed me a file. "You're dismissed," she stated and I hopped off the bed. "Let's go," I say to Nichan. Naruto quickly followed behind me as we walked down the halls. After handing Sensei my medical report and a strict prohibition on training too hard, I was instructing Nichan on how to use our Kekkei Genkai. "Concentrate, the pain is nothing compared to the abilities you will receive by using the chains," I stated as I watched Nichan trying to make more than 3 chains at once. He was gulping in deep breaths and sweating as he tried to concentrate on keeping the shape of the chains. "Control your chakra, don't make the chains different densities. They have to be the same thickness so it's sturdy, otherwise it will have a weak link," I say as I watched him try and control the chain's density and movements. "It's so hard though," Naruto gritted out as he heaved. I sigh and nod. "Well, don't strain yourself. Tomorrow before the team meeting we can try again. Don't overwork yourself, that's counterproductive." I say as he lets go of the jutsu and the chakra chains disappeared. He was breathing heavily and nodded. Okay, but you gotta promise me you'll help me train more, he said smiling as he looked up at me. Of course I will. I want you to be stronger so that no one can hurt you again, I say smiling as I patted his head. Good morning Sakura-chan. Naruto happily waved at her as we arrived in the training grounds near the bridge. Sakura turned and smiled slightly. Morning Naruto, Akumi, she said as she stood up. Sensei late again? I asked and heard an annoyed sigh and yes. I glanced over to see Sasuke leaning by a tree. Have you guys started conditioning for training? I asked. Sasuke has, but I've been studying the medical books you suggested and the book on long-distance jutsu you told me about, Sakura stated as she held a few papers. I was wondering if you could give me some pointers on the notes I've made, she stated and I nodded. Sure, why not? I say taking the papers she held out. Ne-chan, I thought you promised to help with my heavenly chain techniques. He groaned. It's not like I can't watch over you and read over her notes at the same time. Then maybe you and Sasuke could spar to make sure you learn that taijutsu form I taught you. I say crossing my arms. Okay. I'm fine with that, he stated as he took his jacket off. Better watch out Sasuke, once I master my technique you'll have a harder time fighting me. Naruto smirked and Sasuke snickered. Don't forget I've unlocked my Kake Genkai as well, so you better watch your back, Sasuke stated smirking. I rolled my eyes and sat by the tree. Let's go over these Sakura, I stated as she sat beside me. Yeah. She squealed in excitement. I was reading her notes on herbs and making corrections or adding uses to them. I couldn't help but smile at how detailed the notes were. I was also looking up and telling Naruto what he was doing wrong while Sasuke was stretching and getting ready to spar with Naruto. Man Akumi, you're amazing. How are you so good in the medical field? Sakura asked as I handed back her heavily edited notes. That's easy because I'm the one that takes care of Naruto when anything happens to him. I hate medics and don't trust them, I stated shrugging as I watched Sasuke and Naruto start their spar. Hate them? Why? She asked confused. I couldn't help but stiffen at the thought. I felt my mouth go dry at the memories that surged. Flashback. Naruto held my hand tightly, tears slipping down his cheeks. To be honest, I didn't understand him. He should be happy that it wasn't either of us, but then again I knew he hated seeing others get hurt. Help. I heard Nico, a boy around our age, gurgle out as blood came out of his mouth. His face was swollen to the point he could barely open his eyes. He was trying to drag himself away with no avail. His right arm was bent in an odd way and he seemed to be choking on his own blood. I gave Naruto's hand a reassuring squeeze. I looked around the table and the kids our age didn't seem a bit fazed, they just ate silently and like me had a small smile of relief that they weren't Nico. The older kids were a different story, their plates were barely touched as they looked at Nico wide-eyed. Most of their faces were pale while other ones looked like they were going to be sick. Ungrateful brat. Timura-sama screamed out as she used the small steak knife to cut Nico's back and made him scream again. I continued eating as I looked at Nico, who managed to grab my foot. I quickly kicked his hand away and Timura-sama bursted into a fit of laughter. Would you look at that, even the most vile of the monsters locked up in my little home hate you, Nico-chan. Maybe this time you learn how not to be clumsy. That hand of yours daring to touch me. She sneered as she stepped on his oddly bent arm, making a loud crackling sound. Nico screamed, squirming on the floor. I couldn't help but feel bad for him, but I hated being the one that was disciplined, but as long as it wasn't me or Ni-chan I wasn't willing to risk our safety. Timura-sama smirked as she limped to her chair. Akumi dear, get my food and clean the mess Nico made, she stated, and I quickly hurried to do as I was told. I rushed and grabbed Timura-sama's food. Do you need more drink or anything, Kasan? I asked, bowing and not looking up at her. No, not at all dear child, now run along and clean the mess. Take him and throw him into a room or something. She waved her arm and I rushed to the kitchen and grabbed a bucket and sponge. I began cleaning up the blood. The smell of blood seemed to make me cringe as I hurried. I helped Nico stand up and dragged him out of the dining room. Are you okay? I asked him as I took him to the bathroom. His body trembled as I yanked his arm, putting all the weird placed pieces of his arm back in place. I'll help you clean up. I'm sure one of the older kids will come after dinner and fix you up. I say as I began putting pressure on his back wounds. I'm scared. I don't want to be here. Timura-sama scared me. He began to choke out and cry. You were a bad kid. Just like me, so we deserve getting punished. I say as he cried. Bad kids get punished. I hate being a bad kid. I'll do everything Timura-sama says, he sobbed. I pulled away from him and washed my arms. I'm going to go eat. I say and left the bathroom and hurried to the dining room. I sat down beside Ni-chan and began eating again. When we were all done, we waited for Timura-sama to dismiss us. She finished eating and was lightly wiping the sides of her mouth with a napkin. Everyone's dismissed but Akumi. I stiffened and so did Naruto. Go, I promise I'll be okay. I say, even though I was scared and terrified. Everyone hurried out of the dining room. I got out my chair and walked towards Timura-sama. She gave a long sigh. Go on, sit, Akumi, she said as she pulled a chair out that was near her. I didn't hesitate to do as she asked. Did you know that I'm a medic? She asked. I softly nodded. You've mentioned it before, Ka-san. I say, meekly, afraid that she would lash out on me as well. Oh Akumi, you poor child, how am I ever going to tell you this? Her eyes swelled up with tears. I was shocked. I had never seen her like this. What is it, Ka-san? I stuttered out in fear. It's your dear brother Naruto. He's ill, she began to sob out. Ill, what does that mean? I asked, concerned. Why was Timura-sama crying? It means he's very sick. I'm a doctor and I had noticed something was terribly wrong, she cried out again. What's wrong with Ni-chan? I asked, my voice becoming louder as I felt tears brim my eyes. I can't. It's too hard to tell you. Once you find out the horrible thing that's wrong with your brother, you'll be devastated, she sobbed out as she cried into her hands. Ka-san, what's wrong with my brother? He's sick. But what's wrong with him? My body began to tremble and I began to cry. No matter how hard or how she hit me, I never sobbed or cried. I always stayed silent, but now that I was being told that my brother was sick, I felt my chest fill with a horrible emotion. Oh Akumi, his illness is horrible. It's his tummy. If he eats too much, his tummy will burst and he'll die, she stated, and I bit my lip. Like a balloon? I asked, my voice trembling, and she slowly nodded. How can we fix my big brother? I asked, and she let out a long sigh. The only way he will ever get better is that we watch how much he eats. He can only eat small amounts of food. You can do that, right? Make sure Naruto doesn't eat? She asked, and I quickly nodded. Oh Akumi, but it will be hard for you. His illness makes his tummy hurt and makes him want to eat. He'll start crying and begging, but you must promise me that you'll protect him from himself. You won't let your dear brother eat anything other than what I say. She started wiping her tears and holding onto my hands. I promise, I'll make sure Ni-chan doesn't burst, I say, sniffling, and she kissed my forehead. Oh Akumi, I knew I could count on you. Because I know you'll protect your brother. You could say I had a pretty bad experience with a medic once. I learned medical ninjutsu to protect Naruto. And so that I know and understand everything I'm being told. I hate relying on someone else's knowledge, I say, looking down at my hands. I balled my fist up as I felt the surge of guilt boil in the pit of my stomach. Just remembering how long I had made my brother suffer on some petty little lie made me mad. What kind of illness makes people burst from eating too much food? Who'd believe starving was the cure to such a ridiculous illness? And who would, despite seeing her brother on his deathbed, think she was saving him by nearly starving him to death? Oh, was it bad? Sakura asked, and I bit my lip. Naruto barely made it out alive. To be honest, when other medics saw him, they wondered why he was still alive. Told me he should have died a year prior. It was, just forget it, I don't want to talk about it, I say as I felt the brimming tears. I'm going to jog, I say, wiping my eyes and hurrying away from her. I didn't want to know what she thought or her reaction. I just wanted to forget the memory completely. Hello my cute little genins. I saw Kakashi appear in the middle of the bridge. You're late, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto yelled as Sasuke and he stomped their way to the bridge after finishing their spar. Now I was busy signing you up for the Chunin exams, he said, smiling as he held up 4 sheets of paper. Ah man. Thanks Kakashi-sensei. Naruto smiled, pouncing on top of sensei. It's already time for them again? I asked, cocking a brow. You might have not noticed the foreign genin, but yesterday Sasuke, Naruto and I ran into one of the hidden Sengenin groups, Sakura stated, and I raised my brows. I had no idea. Well, at least we can test our skills and improvements, I say, smiling slightly, although I couldn't help but feel concerned. Maybe Naruto should sit out this year. Nei-chan, you're making that face again. Naruto stopped his happy dance and frowned as he stared at me. What? I'm not doing anything, I say, crossing my arms. But you are thinking of something. Every time you are thinking of something and get concerned, you make that face. Makes me wonder what you're plotting, he stated, narrowing his eyes suspiciously. DCH, I'm not plotting anything, I say, walking up to him and ruffling his hair. Stop worrying about what I'm thinking. Just worry about yourself and getting stronger. Leave all the worrying to me, okay? I say, giving him a bright smile. His frown deepened. You don't change, Nei-chan. It's like you never do stop worrying, he sighed and looked away. So Kakashi-sensei, when and where do we turn in these applications? Naruto asked, and Kakashi gave him a one-eyed smile. At the academy tomorrow before 3 p.m. Just know I trust all of your abilities and hope you all decide to enter, he stated and puffed away. Well, looks like we will be training extra hard. Sasuke smirked. We all look at each other smiling and nodding slightly. Guess we will go team attacks and formations, Sakura stated smiling. Short chapter but got my point across. Timura-sama isn't crying because she cares about Naruto's so-called sickness. It's more of a way to manipulate Akumi. Please comment about what you think about the Greenleaf Orphanage and their headmistress Timuro Detsume. Each day was a planned routine. We would wake up and fix our beds. Then we would all look for what clothes we were going to wear before taking a shower in the shower room. Then all of us would file down to the kitchen and start breakfast. The older kids would handle the hot food while the smaller cut and served. We would then greet Timura-sama by the dining room entrance. Each day we would change servers and we would all wait until she started eating before starting. Then we would clean up and the older kids would leave to go to the academy. We were only allowed to eat during meal times. Anyone caught sneaking food would get punished. When the older kids got back we would all make dinner and just like breakfast we would line up by the dining room door and wait for Timuro-sama. Then by 8 we would all be sent to bed after cleaning the entire orphanage complex. But that didn't mean each day was the same. There seemed to be an underlying fear everyone had because who knew who was the next to be punished. Everyone had their own little group, family that were related to by blood or friendship. Each tended to their own. The big kids always seemed to help us out when we were punished. Sometimes you'd hear them calling the headmistress cruel, a monster. But we all knew better than to repeat the words from the older kids. Hibiko, can you teach me things you learn in the academy? I asked as I followed behind her. She had long brown unruly hair and large brown doe eyes. You already learned the henge? She asked and I quickly nodded. Yeah. Watch. I say smiling as I did the hand signs and made myself look just like her. Wow, amazing, but right now I can't. We all got called by Timura-sama to go outside, she stated and I quickly nodded. You'll come back later? I asked and she chuckled, of course. She smiled. Everyone was asleep. Well, we were supposed to be asleep but Hibiko and a few of the older kids were awake. I had awoken when they walked back in. They were covered in dirt, their eyes a bloodshot red and puffy, and a few of the girls couldn't stop crying. I can't, we have to tell someone. Today it was Nico. Who will it be tomorrow? She's so cruel, she wants to kill us and if we don't speak up she will. I don't want to dig any more holes. Hibiko cried as another girl named Kaikio rubbed her back. He was such a good kid, he didn't deserve to. How many more will we have to bury before we do something? Hibiko hiccuped as she cried, trying hard to stay quiet. We have to tell someone but not right now. We have to discuss this outside of the orphanage. If she hears us we will go missing too. Taniki, a girl with messy short brown hair and hazel eyes, stated. I couldn't help but wonder what they were talking about. Bury Nico, why would they do that? Does that mean he got adopted? I couldn't help but remember what Timura-sama told us today about Nico getting adopted and leaving. What did that have to do with him being buried? So every day this is what your brother must eat, if he eats any more he will get sick. Timura-sama stated as she placed a small bowl of watery soup down and 2 pieces of bread. I looked over at her and smiled. Thank you for worrying so much about my big brother's health. I say, bowing and picking up the tray of food. I walked out of the kitchen and Ni-chan was sitting on the dining room table waiting to eat breakfast. Here you go, Ni-chan. This is your food. I say, smiling, setting his tray of food down in front of him. Yay, I thought I'd never get to eat. He cheered as he quickly started eating. Really? Well, I'm glad you like it, but remember you can't have dinner, I said as I sat down beside him. He looked at me cocking a brow. Why not? He asked and I sighed. Don't worry about it, it's because of your health, so sit back and let your Nei-chan watch over you. I say, smiling. I couldn't help but get sad thinking about his illness. He didn't have to worry about that. He had to recover. Nei-chan, I'm hungry. Naruto grumbled as we were helping the big kids clean the house. I frowned and patted his head. How about I go get you some water? I say as I placed the cleaning rag back into the bucket and hurried to the kitchen. I heard a loud thump. Repeat what you said, you brat. Timura-sama hissed as she cornered Hibiko. Nay. Hibiko opened her mouth but blood poured out. Timura-sama laughed. What is it? Tongue missing? She laughed, holding up something small and pink. I tried to get a better look. Hibiko nailed out inaudible sounds that sounded like a mixture of crying and begging. That's when I noticed the blood on the floor. Hibiko's hands were also tied up and she only wore a thin blood-covered shirt. She was on the floor trying to cover her body and shaking in fear. Did you think I'd let you run that little mouth of yours? I knew what you were planning and you're a perfect example for the other girls. Am I right? She laughed, glancing off to the side. I heard shuffling and muffled cries. I couldn't see who was there but they sounded afraid. I slowly backed away from the door and hurried to the kitchen. Whatever was going on there, I didn't want to be part of it. Why can't I go to eat dinner with you? I only ate breakfast today. Naruto grumbled and I frowned. Because Timura-sama says your tummy is not strong enough to handle more food. I reply, but I was fine a few weeks ago. He snapped, frowning as he looked at me. I looked down. I don't want you to get hurt, but I guess I'll get you something, okay? I just hate seeing you sad. I say as I turned around and hurried downstairs. It had been a few weeks since I started taking care of Naruto, just like Timura-sama told me. But no matter how much I tried, Big Brother was never satisfied. He would get mad at me and hit me, saying he just wanted to eat. So I'd bring him a bit of my food to calm him down. We all waited by the dining room door. Timura-sama walked in and we all followed behind. Like always, dinner was quiet. Nobody dared to look at Timura-sama. Not only that, but Hibiko hadn't come back. I wondered if she got adopted. Last I'd seen her, Timuro was punishing her, and that was the last time. That night some of the big girls stayed up all night crying and others started disappearing after that, but nobody asked Timuro-sama. Since it really wasn't any of our business. Some of the boys disappeared too. Everyone was curious but nobody wanted to ask. I was eating my food and snuck a sandwich underneath my dress. I finished eating and waited quietly. "You all may leave." She spoke and no one wasted a second to stand up, pick up their plate and leave. I placed my plate in the sink and grabbed another sandwich off the counter before hiding it under my dress as well. I rushed to the top of the stairs and hurried to the boys' corridor and walked in. Naruto-ni. I quickly spotted him sitting on his bed. I smiled. "I brought food for you," I stated, holding up the 2 small sandwiches. "How did you manage to get 2 today?" he asked as he quickly took them and began eating. "Don't worry about it, just eat up and be careful," I stated, sweat dropping and concerned. "Thanks, Ne-chan, and I'm sorry about hitting you." I was just mad," he grumbled, looking down. "Don't worry about it, remember what I told you, girls don't get hurt as easily as boys," I say with a bright smile. His eyes filled with tears and he hugged me. "I'm sorry for being such a meanie, Ne-chan," he cried out and began to sob. "It's okay, it's because you're sick and going through so much," I say, hugging him back. Months had passed. Nothing had really changed except for most of the big kids having left. But I didn't worry about any of that. Recently Ne-chan had gotten worse. He was barely able to walk and he had become very thin. He was always complaining about how cold he was and how he didn't want to run or play because his body hurt. "Ka-san, is he getting better?" I asked nervously as I looked up at her. She smiled and nodded. "Yes, of course, at the moment he might not look like it, but he's so much healthier than you think. I'm so proud of you. I know it must be hard taking care of him when he's always whining about food," she stated. I stood, nodded. "But come here, I want to teach you something," she stated, and I got closer. "Put your fingers here," she stated, placing her fingers on his wrist. I did as I was told and I felt a soft thumping underneath. "That is his heartbeat. You can also feel it here," she stated, placing 2 fingers on his neck. "Lay your head on his chest, you can also hear his heartbeat here." She smiled and I did as she told me to. "What happens if I don't hear it?" I asked and her grin widened. "That means he died. You'll have to go outside and dig a big hole and throw him in there. Then you'll fill that hole up with dirt and never see him again," she stated, and I stiffened at the thought. "You mean like we did to Yukio?" I asked as my lip trembled and she nodded. "Better take good care of him or he could die." She smirked as she stood up and left the room. I couldn't help but cry. I didn't want to bury my Ne-chan. I felt my hot tears run down my face. Time had passed. Ne-chan rarely spoke anymore. Nowadays I had to pick him up to take him to the restroom and bath him as well. He was so skinny and light. When I fed him he ate slowly, and even with my portion of food he wasn't getting better. Timura-sama had moved him to a small room with a window, chair and small bed. Every day I'd sit with him. I barely left his side. Every night I sat in the chair and held his hand. His body shivered even underneath all of the blankets, and sometimes his chest would stop moving. Each time it did I would start to desperately cry and try to wake him up. Sometimes it took a bit, but he'd open his eyes, look at me and give me a small smile. "Ne-chan, you're crying," he'd whisper in a low soft voice. And I would simply nod and hold his hand as the day went by. Sometimes Timuro-sama would walk in stumbling and try to hit Ne-chan, but I always protected him. At times I even would forget how long it had been since I saw Ne-chan walk. Looking back at it now, I could barely remember what he looked like before he got sick. The only time I'd leave Ne-chan was when I'd go get our food, use the restroom, shower, or when Timuro-sama sent us out to dig holes. Sometimes I would stay up all night watching over him, making sure he was still alive. I didn't want to lose him. I needed my brother, the only family I had. I hadn't slept in my own bed for months, maybe a year now. But it was okay. All I had to do was take care of my big brother. It is what I promised the Hokage. Greenleaf Village Orphanage. This chapter was to give more information about Naruto and Akumi's childhood. I sighed as the 3 of us waited for Sakura. "Why is Sakura-chan so late?" Naruto grumbled as we waited for her to show up. "We have an hour before we have to turn in our Chunin application," I stated, crossing my arms impatiently. Sorry I'm late." We all turned to see Sakura running toward us. "Thought you weren't going to show up for a moment," I stated, and she gave us a nervous smile. "Don't worry, I wouldn't miss this opportunity," she stated, and I sighed. "You'll do great. You've been training just as hard as us. Also, you're our new group medic, so we need you," I say with a small smile, and her eyes widen. "Yeah, Sakura, you're an important member of Team 7, no need to worry." Naruto smiled and Sasuke gave a small curt nod. Her eyes widened and a small real smile spread across her face. "Thanks guys. I really needed that pep talk." She smiled. "Well then, let's go in and show them what Team 7 is all about." Naruto grinned. "I lead them through the first and second floor of the academy." "Genjutsu," Sakura whispered low enough for us to be the only ones able to hear it. "Should we tell them?" Naruto asked, and I shook my head. "Thin out the competition from the very get-go." Sasuke smirked and we all nodded. Quietly we all walked past them. I noticed Tenten, Lee and Neji, PSSD Tenten. I called out and she turned and saw me. "Akumi." She smiled widely and walked towards me. "This isn't the third floor. There's a Genjutsu. Tell all Leaf Shinobi, we need as many Leaf teams in the exam as possible." I whispered lowly and she gave a curt nod. "Will do, Akumi," she stated, and walked back to her team. "What was that about?" Sasuke asked suspiciously as we headed up the stairs. "Don't you think it's better to have more people from our own village in the exam? Better to have comrades than foreign shinobi dominate the numbers," I say as we made it to the exam room. "Well, good to see all of my cute genin made it here." Kakashi smirked as he puffed into existence. "Did you think we would chicken out and miss our chance to become chunins?" Naruto asked, smirking and making Kakashi-sensei chuckle. "Of course not, I knew all my genin would show up. I've talked to the Hokage and your team's 4-man squad got approved, so all of you are allowed to enter," he stated, and we all smiled. "So it's a group exam?" Sakura asked, and Kakashi-sensei nodded. "Now go in there and show them what Team 7 is made of." He smirked and puffed away. "Ready, Sakura-chan?" "Team, Ne-chan?" Naruto asked, and we all nodded as we walked in. We quickly turned in our applications. Well, if it isn't the dead last and his team. I looked over to see that Kiba Kid standing there with his team. How dare he call my little brother a dead last? Well, if it isn't dog breath. "You're the last person I thought I'd see here." Big brother smirked as he manages to grab my wrist and pull me back from beating up that asshole. "Sasuke-kun." I heard an annoying squeal but ignored it as I glared at the dog boy named Kiba. Kiba eyes went wide-eyed as he saw me and his face flushed a slight red. "Hey billboard bro, hope you've been keeping your hands to yourself and off my Sasuke-kun." "And who's the red-haired tomato girl?" she stated as she noticed me. My body stiffened and I slowly turned to look at the blonde bimbo who called me a tomato. Sasuke's instant reaction was to shove Ino off him and step back away from harm. "What did you say, you stupid bitch?" I snapped as I yanked my wrist from Naruto's grip. Before she could reply, I roundhouse kicked her, making her stumble back, and before I managed to get a hold of her I felt 2 sets of arms grab each of my arms and 1 pair wrap around my waist. I was hoisted up and whoever grabbed me did a backbend, making my head hit the hard floor. My body instantly went limp and everything seemed to be spinning. "Think she calmed down?" I heard someone ask. "If she didn't, she will just kill us all." "Well, you too." "She'd never hit me." I heard another voice say. "Nee, your sister is scary. She was about to kill Ino Pig." Another replied. My vision came back to focus. I noticed my teammates standing over me. What the hell is wrong with you?" I heard a squeal. I sat up to see Ino holding her cheek, her teammates helping her up. "Huh? What's wrong with me? What the hell is wrong with you? First time you meet me and you think it's okay and call me a godman tomato," I snapped as I was standing up. "Mama, Akumi, no need to use violence. You'll get in trouble." Naruto gulped. "DCH, fine," I say, calming down. "Nee, who is she anyway?" Kiba asked as he looked at me warily. "Oh, I guess you guys have never met her. This is my twin sister, Akumi Uzumaki," Naruto stated as he introduced me. "Twin sister? How come we never met her?" Kyuji asked as they helped Ino up. "Well, she graduated the academy years ago. So that's probably why," he stated as a white-haired man walked toward us. "You do realize this isn't the academy anymore, right?" he asked, and I snickered. "Who the hell are you?" Kiba asked. "I'm Kabuto Yakashi, I'm a Leaf genin. But I was just coming here to ask you to settle down a bit, seeing as you can't tell by the atmosphere that you should calm down," he stated. "Is this your first time taking the exam?" Shino asked, and Kabuto shook his head. "It's my 5th time. So I guess you could call me a bit of a veteran in the exams," he chuckled nervously. "Is the exam that hard?" Shikamaru asked annoyed. Kabuto gave a small nod. But I can give you some pointers. You see those range shinobi, they are well known for their ill temperament, he stated. As he pulled out a deck of cards. What are those? Sasuke asked. These are shinobi information cards. I can tell you anything about any shinobi, just point them out, Kabuto stated, giving us a sloppy grin. Gaara of the Sand. Sasuke quickly asked. Already have the name? What's the fun in that? Kabuto chuckled, taking out a card and placing it on the ground. He poured some chakra in and the info became visible. Gaara of the Sand, 1B rank, 8C rank and an unknown number of D rank. But that's not the only impressive thing. It says here that in all his missions he's never been hurt once and is known for his brutal murders in his village, Kabuto stated, and everyone went wide-eyed. What about her? Ino asked, glaring at me, making me glare right back. Akumi Uzumaki, everyone should know who she is, quite famous here in the Leaf, Kabuto stated as he looked at me. I frowned. TCH whatever bastard. I grumble. 3A ranked missions, 7B ranked, 12C ranked and 38D ranked. Also known as the child murder here in the village, some even called her the second coming of the demon of the bloody mist. After her brother was injured in a small street fight, she took it upon herself to murder everyone there. That means she killed 3 Chunin level ninja and 4 civilians. Rumor has it took Jonin and Anbu ninja to stop her. After a trial she was found innocent and forced to become a shinobi in order for her to keep her newfound innocence. Kabuto spoke quickly. I stiffened as he spoke. How did he know? Yes, it was known I killed them, but about how I was forced to become a shinobi wasn't something that was told, and neither was the trial. How did you? Naruto's eyes went wide. I did say it was a famous incident here, a 6-year-old child murder with no previous shinobi training, killing and fighting Chunin level ninja and murdering them. Anyone who is old enough to remember knows about it, Kabuto stated with a shrug. That's not what happened. Ne-chan didn't mean to hurt them. It was an accident, she was only protecting me, Naruto quickly protested when Kabuto cut him off. That's not what rumors say. Some even think she helped a woman by the name of Timuro Detsum torture and mutate children from the Greenleaf Orphanage. Kabuto smirked as he stood up, shoving the deck of cards into his pocket. Liar, Ne-chan didn't do anything. And don't you compare her to the psycho bitch Timuro. That woman was a monster. A psychopath that was executed for nearly 87 children homicides and 65 accounts of tortures. Naruto gritted out as he glared at Kabuto. Everyone in the group was silent. I felt myself tremble at that woman's name. I could still remember the way she laughed as she beat and mutilated the other kids. Back then nobody in the orphanage would have batted an eye watching what that woman did. But it was because we didn't understand. We didn't understand that it was wrong. That it was inhuman torture. All we could think about was how glad we were that it wasn't us, that we weren't the ones that were squirming on the floor screaming and yelling. That we weren't bleeding out, and that we were the ones digging holes and not being thrown in them. DCH, I'm just saying what is known, although seeing all of your expressions most of you didn't know, must have been too young to remember, Kabuto stated as he looked at the group of rookie genin who were staring at me. Whatever, that's not what happened. And to be frank, I could care less what a dropout ninja like you thinks. Only person's approval I need is my brother's. To hell with you and those goddamn rumors. I glared at him as I crossed my arms. If you approach my team, me or my brother, I'll fucking kill you. I say, frowning as I glare at him. Come on Naru, let's go. I say, grabbing his hand. Naruto shot Kabuto the middle finger and walked away with me. Sakura, Sasuke, you coming? I asked, and Sakura slightly jumped. Yeah, of course Akumi-chan, she stuttered as she quickly caught up beside us. Akumi, what the hell was he talking about? Sasuke asked in a low hushed whisper. I looked down. Yeah, it's almost the same as what Zabuza said the first time we ran into him. Sakura added. I looked down. It wasn't some street fight. I mumble. Timura-sama was the headmistress of our orphanage. The things she did, we didn't know any better. She was cruel, and she'd tell us to call her Ka-san and beat some of the other kids half to death for the smallest things, I whispered. Naruto squeezed my hand in reassurance. Whenever she attacked or tried to kill Naruto, I hit him and henshed as him. She hated us because when she beat us I never cried, I just let her do whatever she wanted. Sometimes she would stab us or cut us with knives, other times she tried to strangle us. We knew the Hokage and had to go visit him sometimes, so she couldn't kill us, but the other kids weren't as lucky. I mumbled as I squeezed my eyes shut. She couldn't permanently mutilate us, and she was sick of the lack of reaction when it came to physical torture. So she did the next big thing. I whisper. They both were listening to me. They looked shocked at what I was saying. I was only 3 years old, I didn't know any better. She made up some illness and told me Naruto was sick with it. She told me that the Hokage hadn't wanted me to know, so I couldn't ask him about it. I whimpered. It's okay, Ne-chan. Naruto grumbled. What was the illness? Sakura asked. I had tears brimming in my eyes. She never gave it a name, but the supposed illness was that Naruto couldn't eat food or he'd explode. My job was to make sure he didn't eat, and only feed him once a day. I gritted as I remembered. So you had to starve him? Sakura asked, her voice wincing as I nodded. 3 years, 3 whole years he wasted away. At first he would fight and sneak food from the kitchen, but as time went by he became weaker. Soon I was carrying him everywhere when he lost his ability to walk. Every day I would cry and stay at his side checking his pulse and his breathing. At night I was sent out with the other kids to dig holes for the kids she murdered. We were forced to drag them and throw their bodies in there and cover it up. 6 years and nobody could question her. We were all afraid. But nobody said anything because as long as she wasn't trying to kill you or someone you'd grown attached to, that it was something we had grown to ignore. I say, how could you ignore it? You heard them scream and cry, so why did you ignore it? Sakura asked, her eyes wide in shock. Since the day we can remember it was like that. The older kids then were the ones digging holes and trying to take care of us. They knew that what she was doing was wrong. But we didn't. To us she was right, she was our mother, and when she beat or killed one of us we deserved it because we were bad kids who deserved to be punished. I always felt bad for them, but I hated it when she beat me or Akumi. Everyone just looked the other way. We could watch her kill one of them in front of us while eating dinner and not be fazed. It happened more often than you think. Naruto grumbled. What happened? How did she get caught? Sasuke asked. It was because I snapped. Like I said, it wasn't a street fight, I was interrupted by the proctor. Alright maggots, file up. My name is Aviki, I'll be your proctor, so take one of these table markers and find your seat. First exam starts now. We will finish telling you guys later. That's the end. I hope you guys enjoyed it.